Chapter 34-36. Chapter 34-36. Making things difficult. Chapter 34-36. Making things difficult. Feng Wu's heart raced at the thought of how close Nest had been to destruction. That was close. It was all thanks to Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu looked at him gratefully. Standing there proudly, he was slender and handsome. His side profile was deep and sharp, like an unsheathed sword. He looked extremely arrogant as he looked forward, but he gave one a sense of security. When Feng Wu got back, she could hear the exclamations. Everyone was discussing what happened today. Before Feng Wu could figure out what was going on, Feng Sun arrived. Shall we? Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. The sight of Feng Sun gave her a headache. Something must have happened again, or Feng Sun wouldn't be in such a hurry. You won't believe it. Sure enough, Feng Sun started talking before he reached her. Feng Wu looked at him in resignation. What happened now? Feng Sun said. I was trying to calm them down. When I reached the portal, I saw Feng coming back, so I asked him why he returned. Guess what happened? Feng Wu asked. Is it about the Crown Prince's residence in Bao Air? Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu in surprise. How did you know? Feng Wu smacked her head. How could she have forgotten such an important thing? She had the immortal spiritual fruit liquid that she had stolen from Sun Castle. It had belonged to Night Owl, but Feng Wu had stolen it and kept it for Bao Air. However, she had been so busy recently that she had forgotten about it. She hadn't told anyone about it, not even Jun Linyuan. What happened to Bao Air? Feng Wu asked in a hurry. She's not well. She may only has a few days left. Before Feng Sun could finish, Feng Wu ran toward Jun Linyuan's yard. Boss Jun must be back in the Empire by now, Feng Sun shouted after her. Without another word, Feng Wu headed for the portal. She turned around and told Feng Sun, Tell my godfather that I'm going back to the imperial capital. Feng Wu went straight to the portal. At this moment, there was a row of people standing at the teleportation gate. Stop! It was a level 5 spiritual king who stopped Feng Wu. Feng Wu frowned. I'm going to the imperial capital now. The spiritual king stared at Feng Wu with a stern face and shook his head arrogantly. No, Feng Wu frowned. Saving a life was the most important thing, but she was stuck here. I'm going to the imperial capital. Feng Wu raised her voice. The spiritual king darted a look at Feng Wu. The portal only opens once a month. Don't you know that? Feng Wu asked. When will it open again? The spiritual king said coldly. Next month. Please leave. Feng Wu stared at him in displeasure. The man was from the military academy, so he didn't take Feng Wu seriously. He smirked. The crown prince just used the portal, so the next time it opens will be in a month. Do you have a problem with that? Feng Wu took a deep breath. Just as the saying went, those who wielded a small amount of power were the hardest to deal with. Just tell me what it takes to open the portal. Feng Wu stared at him. The spiritual king said, That's not easy, unless Elder Helion and Elder Dongfang agreed to your request. Feng Wu asked, Does Jun Linyuan need that too? Of course not. The crown prince has the authority. The man gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance and snorted. Chapter 34-37. Chapter 34-37 Big Shot. Chapter 34-37 Big Shot. The man gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance and snorted. Of course, it would be even better if you could get the general's token. Unfortunately, you can't. He was the one who let the new students in not long ago. So, he remembered very clearly that Feng Wu was a freshman of Imperial College. A mere freshman dared to ask him to open the portal and let her go back on her own? What a joke. However, the gatekeeper didn't expect Feng Wu to throw a token at him. He hurriedly caught it to take a look. That's the general's entry token. That's impossible. The guard stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu frowned. Are you saying the token is fake? In order to make it easier to walk around Nest, Feng Wu had asked the general to give her a token. To Feng Wu, it was only a matter of saying a few words to her father, but to the gatekeeper, it was unbelievable. The token had to be real because no one could fake the general's aura. However, The gatekeeper couldn't figure out why this freshman. Seeing that he was staring at her arm, Feng Wu thought of something and revealed her epaulette. A colonel? The gatekeeper's eyes widened. What was going on? This freshman of Imperial College had only been at Nest for a few months, but she had already become a colonel. Your military rank. The guard wanted to ask if she had stolen the badge, but he couldn't bring himself to say the words. Feng Wu asked, what? The gatekeeper asked, is it real? Feng Wu was speechless. At this moment, a person walked over quickly. Elder Dongfang. The gatekeeper was from the military academy and was a lieutenant colonel, so he was very respectful when he saw Elder Dongfang. Elder Dongfang stared at Feng Wu. She said coldly, the general knows that you're in a hurry to return to Imperial College. He's worried that the guards will make things difficult for you, so he asked me to see you off. The gatekeeper was speechless. Was the general personally looking after Feng Wu? Feng Wu nodded and looked grim. The guard was very puzzled. Elder Dongfang had personally come here to give instructions, but this freshman of Imperial College didn't kneel down in gratitude. He was a little confused. Elder Dongfang said solemnly, you're very important to Nest. After you return to the Crown Prince's residence, you must rush back as soon as possible. Feng Wu nodded. Elder Dongfang turned to the gatekeeper. What are you looking at? Open the portal and see Miss Feng Wu off. Miss Feng Wu. With his boss glaring at him, the gatekeeper didn't dare say another word. He immediately opened the portal and walked Miss Feng Wu out. After some thought, Feng Wu waved her hand, and 10 fighter jets flew out of her space and landed on the ground. She said calmly, please use these fighter jets as soon as possible. The Dongseng Kingdom will soon develop a second generation. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was already working on a second-generation fighter jet herself. However, she had been too busy recently. There was Bao Er's case, and Firmament Palace would probably come looking for trouble soon. Feng Wu soon disappeared through the portal. Elder Dongfang ordered people to take the fighter jets back. Chapter 3438. Chapter 3438. Assassination 1. Chapter 3438. Assassination 1. The gatekeeper was dumbfounded. General Feng, the Crown Prince's residence, the fighter jets, and Elder Dongfang. None of them were things that ordinary people could come into contact with. He had thought that Feng Wu was a newbie, but she turned out to be a big shot. Feng Wu didn't know that her casual actions had shocked someone so much, but even if she did, she wouldn't have cared. After exiting the portal, she hurried to the Crown Prince's residence. She didn't stop moving. Moreover, she only chose remote paths since a straight line was the shortest route. Just as Feng Wu was about to fly past Dark Cloud Alley and turn into East Main Street, something happened. She felt the extreme danger of being targeted. Instinctively, Feng Wu rolled over the wall. Thud! Thud! Arrows rained down. As Feng Wu rolled, countless arrows pierced the ground. If Feng Wu hadn't reacted in time, she would have turned into a porcupine. Who could it be? Feng Wu's face darkened. She had just returned from Nest, and couldn't even make it back to her house before she was ambushed. Who the hell was it? Before Feng Wu could figure it out, the first wave of sharpshooters retreated, and a group of men in black lunged at her. Feng Wu stared at them. They were rather capable. They were all level 3 and level 4 spiritual kings, and all of them were good fighters. However, had they underestimated her? If they were sent by someone in Nest, they would have known that she was already a level 6 spiritual king. There was no way they would send level 3 and level 4 spiritual kings to assassinate her. These people would never get the job done. Therefore, Feng Wu was instantly certain that the person who was trying to assassinate her wasn't an enemy in Nest, but someone from the imperial capital. Without hesitation, Feng Wu drew her fallen star sword. Die! Dozens of level 3 and level 4 spiritual kings were killed instantly. The leader of those men hiding in the dark froze. He stared at Feng Wu with wide eyes. This shouldn't be. Wasn't Feng Wu a level 2 spiritual king? Many people knew that Feng Wu had become a level 2 spiritual king during the battle between Imperial College and the military academy. Hence, the leader had planned an assassination based on that knowledge, but now, his men were in such a sorry state. A level 6 spiritual king. Was she even human? In just a few months, she had become a level 6 spiritual king. How did she make such fast progress? However, the leader himself was a peak level 7 spiritual king. A sneer appeared on the leader's face. Fengwu wasn't going anywhere. She couldn't leave. A whip lashed out at Fengwu like a snake. It happened so fast that no one else would have reacted in time. Luckily, Fengwu was on guard, so she leaned to the side to avoid the whip. By the time Fengwu stood up, the leader was already pointing the black whip at her. Have you been lying in ambush here ever since I entered nest? Fengwu looked at him curiously. The leader stared at Fengwu coldly. Fengwu said, "Didn't anyone tell you that I'm a level 6 spiritual king now? Why is your information so outdated?" Fengwu found it hard to believe. The leader felt as if Fengwu had slapped him again and again. Chapter 3439. Chapter 3439. Assassination 2. Chapter 3439. Assassination 2. Die! Like a snake, the black whip lashed out at Fengwu mercilessly. The hideous black whip looked like a dragon with its mouth open as it went for Fengwu. Fengwu smirked. A peak level 7 spiritual king? That's impressive. Fengwu used her 3 powerful stances one after another. After 7 moves, the leader was shocked. Wasn't Fengwu a level 6 spiritual king? Why couldn't he defeat her after so long even though he was a peak level 7 spiritual king? The whip couldn't even touch her clothes. Boom! The whip exploded, and a streak of fire shot toward Fengwu. The explosion swept through everything. Fengwu backed away at once, but she was too close to the explosion, and her head was spinning from the blast. The leader blew up his favorite weapon, which was a major move. Seeing Fengwu was dazed, the leader attacked. Die! Clenching his fist, he punched at Fengwu. His fist whistled through the air. It was like a huge wave on the sea or a storm sweeping over. Fengwu was hit in the stomach. Her abdomen caved in, and blood rushed up her throat. Ouch! Fengwu spat out a mouthful of blood. The leader was ecstatic to see Fengwu throw up blood. Boom! He threw another punch at Fengwu. Fengwu was hit again, and she flew backward. Boom! She smashed into a wall, which collapsed and fell on her. That had to be painful as hell. An indescribable pain washed over Fengwu. She struggled to get up, only to find that she had no strength left. What should she do? Fengwu remembered that there were still a few bombs in her storage space. She had taken them from the Dongseng kingdom. She didn't use them up and had kept them there. The leader's 2 punches smashed Fengwu down, and she was unable to get up. He smirked when he saw this. I can't believe that a level 6 spiritual king is so weak. Fengwu, I overestimated you. The leader sneered. Fengwu couldn't help but recall that Mr. Liu had told her the same thing. Mr. Liu hadn't built a good foundation, and had become rather vulnerable as he cultivated. He was also seriously ill at the moment. Fengwu took a deep breath. Indeed, after this incident, she needed to start enhancing her own body. The leader stood in front of Fengwu and stared down at her with a cold, mocking look in his eyes. He threw a punch at Fengwu's heart. Fengwu had been gathering her strength. When the leader threw his punch, Fengwu threw the bomb at him. As for herself, she used the momentum and flew back again. Never in his wildest dreams could the man have imagined that Fengwu would have such a lethal bomb in her hands. Only the Dongseng kingdom had this type of bomb, and the Zhenwu Empire hadn't mastered this technology, so it was normal that the leader hadn't seen it before. Boom! There was an explosion. The bomb couldn't kill him, and could only injure him. Fengwu knew that she only had one chance. Die! She drew Fallen Star Sword and used her most powerful moves. The tip of the sword stabbed the man between his eyebrows. The leader struggled to break free from the explosion, only to see the glinting blade. By the time he reacted, the sword tip was already pressed to his forehead. Chapter 3440. Chapter 3440. Assassination 3. Chapter 3440. Assassination 3. He stared in disbelief at Feng Wu, who was only a meter away from him. Feng Wu's face was pale, and she was covered in blood. However, she was determined to pour all her energy into the sword. The leader wanted to speak, but he couldn't say a word. Who sent you? Feng Wu stared at him and asked in a cold voice. The leader opened his mouth and wanted to speak, but blood gushed out. Who is it? Feng Wu sprinkled some truth serum on his face. He didn't have much time left. She wanted to get as much information as she could. The leader was still stubborn at first. He sneered. Why would I tell you it was Zhua? Before he could finish the name, an arrow tore through the air. It pierced the back of the man's head. The leader slowly dropped to his knees. He was completely dead. Feng Wu looked in the direction of the arrow. Seeing Feng Wu's pale face, the archer was about to walk out of his hiding place. Feng Wu could even see his black combat boots. She was alarmed. She had suffered 2 punches, and was now suffering from serious internal injuries. Although she had poured a semi-divine potion down her mouth, such serious injuries couldn't be healed in a short time. Feng Wu could feel that her dantian had almost shattered, and it was recovering slowly. Just now, she had taken a very big risk to finally kill the leader of the black men. Right now, she was so exhausted that she couldn't even draw her sword. Even an ordinary person could kill her, let alone a cultivator. The man in the dark kept his eyes on Feng Wu. He had no idea what was going on with her. After all, he hadn't expected Feng Wu to kill a level 7 spiritual king. He was waiting for Feng Wu to fall. However, at that moment, he suddenly felt he was in grave danger. A look of frustration appeared on his face. He was vexed that he didn't make a move earlier. Now, he had lost this chance. He didn't make any unnecessary movements, and instantly disappeared from the spot. Miss Wu. Feng appeared next to Feng Wu. The man who had wanted to assassinate Feng Wu had already disappeared. Miss Xiaowu. Seeing how pale Feng Wu's face was and the blood on her chest, Feng was startled. He was about to go after that person. Seeing the steward, Feng Wu felt that she was safe, and spat out a mouthful of blood. God knew that she had long wanted to do that, confronting the person hiding in the dark. She support herself, and didn't show any signs of serious injuries. If she had revealed any trace of an injury earlier, she would probably be dead by now. Feng caught Feng Wu in a hurry. Did someone try to kill you? The steward was vexed. Although he had expected it at the beginning, he didn't think Firmament Palace would take action so soon. Feng Wu had just walked out of the portal. Feng Wu spat out a mouthful of blood and felt much better. She asked Feng, "Are you here for me?" Feng nodded. Feng Wu asked, "Is Bao Er seriously ill?" Feng nodded. His Royal Highness didn't want to trouble you, but Bao Er's condition is too serious, so he asked me to pick you up at Nest. I didn't expect. He didn't expect someone to try and assassinate Feng Wu along the way. Who was it? Feng frowned. Feng Wu smiled. Who do you think? Chapter 3441. Chapter 3441. Assassination 4. Chapter 3441. Assassination 4. The steward didn't say anything, but there weren't many families that could send a level 7 spiritual king. Feng Wu said, "Let's not talk about that. We should go." Seeing how pale Feng Wu was, and how unsteady she was on her feet, the steward was very worried. "Didn't you say that Bao Er is in serious condition?" Feng Wu smiled wryly. "But you'll have to get me a carriage. I don't think I can make it to the Crown Prince's residence on foot." Feng wanted to ask Feng Wu if she could handle it. But seeing the girl's persistence and thinking about Bao Er's condition, the steward nodded and ordered his men to get a carriage ready. As for himself, he didn't dare leave Feng Wu's side. The steward remembered clearly that the Crown Prince had said that he would protect Feng Wu, but now she had almost been assassinated. His Royal Highness would be furious. He wondered which family was so bold. Weren't they afraid of death? Feng Wu got into the carriage and began to treat herself. Fortunately, she still had some healing medicine on her. In fact, the immortal spiritual fruit medicinal liquid would help her internal injuries a lot. But Feng Wu didn't use a single drop. She only used her own medicine. The journey from Black Cloud Alley to the Crown Prince's residence took half an hour, since they were traveling by carriage. Feng Wu had already recovered from her external injuries, but her internal injuries weren't healing so quickly. The slightest movement of her spiritual essence was enough to make her head hurt. Before getting out of the carriage, Feng Wu took a look at her dirty clothes and changed into another set. By the time she got out of the carriage, apart from her pale face, she looked almost normal. Outside the Crown Prince's residence, Feng Wu saw rows of ceremonial guards. They were the ceremonial guards of the Empress Dowager, Empress Dugu and Princess Jun Wuxia. Feng frowned. I was only gone for a short while. Are the Empress Dowager and the others here already? The Crown Prince liked peace and quiet. Normally, he wouldn't let anyone disturb Bao Er's peace. Was Bao Er already? Apart from them, there were also other carriages and horses. The Hua family is here too? The steward frowned even more. Feng Wu asked the Hua family. Feng told Feng Wu. The eldest princess's husband was a member of the Hua family, but from a branch family. It's quite complicated, but the Hua family isn't easy to get along with. Miss Wu, just ignore them. Feng Wu nodded. She was almost too weak to even save Bao Er, let alone care about anything else. However, before Feng Wu could reach the golden house that Jun Linyuan had specially built for Bao Er, someone stopped her at the door. Hey, stop. Standing in the backyard, Jun Wuxia frowned at Feng Wu. Who are you? This isn't a place for you. Get lost. Feng frowned. Princess Wuxia. Jun Wuxia waved her hand. Feng, you're an experienced steward. Don't you know what's important? Can't you see what's happening now? Why are you still letting people in? Aren't you afraid that my brother, the Crown Prince, will cut your head off? The steward's face darkened. He was about to speak, when there was a voice from inside, as if someone was asking what the noise was about. Both Feng and Feng Wu recognized the Empress Dowager's voice. They had to pass through the door of the backyard to reach the exquisite golden palace, which meant that Feng Wu had been stopped outside. Let her in, the Empress Dowager said impatiently. With a cold face, Feng led Feng Wu in. Chapter 3442. Chapter 3442. Kick her out. Chapter 3442. Kick her out. Jun Wuxia tried to stop her, but Feng Wu bumped into her as she walked past the princess. Although Feng Wu was injured, she was still a level 6 spiritual king, and her aura alone was much stronger than Jun Wuxia's. Therefore, she could easily brush past Jun Wuxia. Ah! Jun Wuxia cried out in pain and flew backward. She fell into the flower bed and couldn't pull herself out. Feng Wu walked into the backyard, and everyone looked at her. The Empress Dowager sat at the head of the table, and next to her was Empress Dugu. Opposite her was an old lady with gray hair and a walking stick. The old lady seemed to be in good spirits, and her eyes were as sharp as blades and as cold as ice. Feng Wu felt a chill run down her spine when she saw the look in her eyes. What a powerful old lady! Her strength was extraordinary. From what Feng Wu could tell, the old lady was much stronger than she was. Seeing that Feng Wu was about to walk in, the Empress Dowager looked disgusted. Stop! The Empress Dowager bellowed. Feng Wu pretended not to hear her and kept walking. The Empress Dowager's face fell. She was the Empress Dowager, and no one had ever disobeyed her like that. How dare someone disrespect her? Before the maid next to the Empress Dowager could say anything, the old lady sitting next to the Empress Dowager rose to her feet. No one knew how she moved. Feng Wu's vision blurred, and before she knew it, the old lady was standing in front of her. Young lady, please wait. Feng Wu sensed a murderous look in the old lady's eyes. There was a sharp pain in her head. Feng Wu's face turned even paler, and she unconsciously rubbed her temples. Feng was already there. He stared at the old lady. Mrs. Hua, are you trying to make things difficult for Miss Feng Wu? Mrs. Hua. Was it the Hua family that Feng had mentioned? Heartless Valley's Hua family. From the looks of it, the Hua family of Heartless Valley wasn't all that heartless. Mrs. Hua didn't expect Feng to intervene. She knew how capable the steward was, but she didn't expect him to get involved in this matter. Feng, the Empress Dowager is here. Mrs. Hua threatened him. The girl who had been standing behind Mrs. Hua stepped forward and stood next to her. She was taller than Feng Wu, and raised her chin, and gave Feng Wu a condescending look. Who's this girl? Doesn't she know where she is? Why didn't she bow to the Empress Dowager? Offending the Empress Dowager is a serious crime. Hua Wushuang, you finally said something that makes sense. That was Jun Wuxia, who had been pulled out of the flower bed by a maid and eunuch. She hadn't liked Hua Wushuang at first, because Hua Wushuang was so much like Zhuo Qingwan. She was just as proud and as cold as Zhuo Qingwan. Mrs. Hua confronted the steward, while Hua Wushuang and Jun Wuxia blocked Feng Wu's way. Feng Wu had only recovered 20% or 30% of her strength after being injured by the assassin. She was only able to stand here now because of her determination. She really didn't have the strength to argue with others. Get out of here. You're not welcome here. Jun Wuxia glared at Feng Wu and said in a nasty tone. Kick her out. The Empress Dowager and Empress Duga didn't move or speak. They just stared at Feng Wu coldly. Chapter 3443. Chapter 3443. His Majesty. Chapter 3443. His Majesty. The surrounding servants acted according to their master's wishes. The Empress Dowager looked as if she was acquiescing, and the servants understood her meaning. Hence, before their master said anything, two eunuchs went up and tried to drag Feng Wu out. Feng had always been a good-natured man, but at this moment, he was truly furious. His Royal Highness invited Miss Feng Wu to treat Princess Bao Er. The steward said as he gestured at Granny Gong. At his signal, Granny Gong turned around and headed for the door. Feng turned back to the Empress Dowager. Your Majesty, if we delay Miss Bao Er's treatment, and His Royal Highness loses his temper, no one will be able to take responsibility. That was very harsh. The Empress Dowager was a little shocked. Feng had always been by Jun Lingyuan's side, and was on good terms with Emperor Wu, but he hadn't had much dealings with the Empress Dowager. She hadn't expected him to be so intimidating when he was angry. In any case, the Empress Dowager was a little frightened. What was wrong with this world? How could a steward lecture the Empress Dowager? The Empress Dowager wasn't the only one who was shocked. Everyone else looked at the steward in surprise. Mrs. Hua stared at Feng and frowned. Feng Tian, how dare you? It seemed that Mrs. Hua and the steward were old acquaintances. She knew how capable the steward was, so she only threatened him verbally. The steward snorted. I'm just sending Miss Feng Wu in to save Princess Bao. Mrs. Hua shook her head. Everyone knows that it's hopeless for Bao Er. That's just an excuse. Feng said. Miss Feng Wu is an extraordinary doctor. If there's anyone in the Zhenwu Empire who can save Princess Bao Er, it'll be her. The Empress Dowager frowned. Feng, don't you understand what Mrs. Hua is saying? Bao Er is on her deathbed, and not even the gods can save her. Aren't you worried that I'll punish you for using this excuse to fool me? Just then footsteps came from not far away. His Majesty has arrived. It was Emperor Wu. Dressed in bright yellow casual clothes and thick-soled boots, Emperor Wu soon came into the room. Everyone bowed to Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu ignored them and hurried over to the Empress Dowager. Greetings, Mother. Emperor Wu was the most filial and bowed to the Empress Dowager first. The Empress Dowager, on the other hand, pressed her hand to her chest, looking like she couldn't breathe. Emperor Wu looked worried as he hurried to the Empress Dowager's side. Mother, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Having said that, Emperor Wu bellowed at the others. Go get the imperial physician. Jun Wuxia ran up to him and complained loudly. Father, grandmother is so angry because someone offended her. Emperor Wu frowned at her. Who dares to do that? Emperor Wu's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, what are you doing here? Are you back from Nest? Come and see your grandmother. She's not feeling well. Jun Wuxia almost lost her temper at Emperor Wu's words. She said indignantly, Father, Feng Wu was the one who made grandmother angry. Since when did her grandmother become Feng Wu's? What was wrong with her father? Jun Wuxia was furious. However, Emperor Wu glared at her. What are you talking about? Xiao Wu is the most obedient girl. How could she have offended Her Majesty? Don't make false accusations. Chapter 3444. Chapter 3444. How amazing is Xiao Wu? Chapter 3444. How amazing is Xiao Wu? However, Emperor Wu glared at her. What are you talking about? Xiao Wu is the most obedient girl. How could she have offended Her Majesty? Don't make false accusations. Emperor Wu wasn't angry, but Jun Wuxia was fuming. She got the sense that Feng Wu was Emperor Wu's biological daughter, while she herself had been picked up from the roadside. Father! Jun Wuxia stomped her foot. However, Emperor Wu said kindly to Feng Wu, Xiao Wu, come here and have a look at your grandmother. The Empress Dowager was furious at Emperor Wu. Didn't he know that she didn't like Feng Wu? I don't need her help, the Empress Dowager said angrily. Who knows if she'll take the chance to kill me? That was a serious accusation. Emperor Wu turned around and stared at Feng Wu. You, forget it. I don't want you to upset the Empress Dowager. Go in and see Bao Air. Feng Wu nodded at Emperor Wu and went in. Jun Wuxia was displeased. Father. However, no matter how loud she shouted, Emperor Wu ignored her. The Empress Dowager didn't usually have to put on a show, but now that Emperor Wu was obviously biased toward Feng Wu, she was displeased. Clutching her chest, she asked, Your Majesty, are you trying to upset your mother? Emperor Wu looked alarmed. Mother, what are you talking about? I beg you to live forever. The Empress Dowager took a deep breath and glared at him. He claimed to be a filial son, but when it came to siding with Feng Wu, he didn't hold back at all. I just don't understand what that girl has done to make you so biased. The Empress Dowager pointed at Jun Wuxia. That's your real daughter. Emperor Wu smiled apologetically. Mother, what are you talking about? Do you think I'll side with her? The Empress Dowager couldn't help but feel helpless when she saw that Emperor Wu smiled obediently, but was still biased toward Feng Wu. Baby Jun had been dazzled by the girl, and now Emperor Wu. That's all I have to say. I just don't like her. The Empress Dowager clenched her fists and said angrily, I just don't like her. I don't like her at all. Your Majesty, do as you see fit. The Empress Dowager didn't beat around the bush with Emperor Wu anymore. She got straight to the point and made her stance clear in front of so many people. Emperor Wu, do as you see fit. If you are as filial as you seem, you would be on the same side as your mother right now. The Empress Dowager wasn't the only one focused on Emperor Wu. Most of the people around them were kneeling on the ground with their heads lowered, but their ears pricked up. She was forcing the emperor to say where he stood. Emperor Wu was put in a difficult position. Mother. The Empress Dowager waved his hand away. I won't argue with you. I've already made my stance clear. I don't approve of her marriage to the crown prince. I don't like her at all. If you insist on her marrying into the royal family, I'll kill myself here. Was it that serious? Emperor Wu frowned. He was displeased too. The Empress Dowager was so angry, but she had no idea how rare Xiao Wu was. Others might not know, but Emperor Wu was the one who received information from the front line. He knew that Feng Wu had gone to Sun Castle alone and done something spectacular. To put it bluntly, if it hadn't been for what Feng Wu had done at Sun Castle, Ness would have been blown up by now. Feng Xiangnan and the others might not even be alive. Chapter 3445. Chapter 3445. Angry Empress Dowager. Chapter 3445. Angry Empress Dowager. And there was Jun Linyuan. If Feng Wu hadn't gone into that dangerous place to get the immortal spiritual fruit, Jun Linyuan might not even be alive right now, let alone make a breakthrough. However, these people, Emperor Wu looked around. Why did they have to ruin Xiao Wu's reputation and drag her down? He was really displeased. He didn't try to coax the Empress Dowager anymore. Instead, he found a seat and sat there sulking. The crowd was speechless. They looked at each other, all at a loss. The Empress Dowager was dumbfounded. No matter how she flared up or how unreasonable she was, the emperor would always comfort her, his mother. But now he was ignoring her. Was he just going to leave her like this? The Empress Dowager's chest heaved with fury. She felt that Emperor Wu had changed. He didn't care about his mother anymore. Feng Wu must have cast some spell on him. The Empress Dowager was about to explode when Emperor Wu jumped to his feet. I'll go inside and take a look. Since that girl is here, Bao Er might really be saved. After that, Emperor Wu headed for the door. The Empress Dowager flushed with rage. There were so many people here, and Emperor Wu was just going to ignore her, his mother. That was so embarrassing. Didn't he care about her dignity? Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager shouted at Emperor Wu. Bao Er is on her deathbed. Do you have to torture her like this? If Feng Wu can cure Bao Er, I'll serve Feng Wu tea. I can even kneel down to her. Emperor Wu rubbed his forehead. His mother was really furious. How could she say such things? The Empress Dowager smirked. If Feng Wu can't cure Bao Er, I won't forgive her. Emperor Wu didn't want to talk anymore, and he went in without looking back. His mother was becoming less and less like the Empress Dowager. Why was she being so petty with a girl? When the late emperor was still alive, she used to bicker with his concubines, which made sense, but Feng Wu was her grandson's fiancé now. Why should she hold it against her? Emperor Wu suddenly felt a little emotional. Had he been too obedient all these years? It's the Empress Dowager. Your Majesty. Seeing that Emperor Wu was about to leave, the Empress Dowager fell backward. There was no one behind her. Jun Wuxia couldn't believe what she was seeing. How brave of her grandmother to put on such a show. Hua Wushuang reacted quickly. Before Jun Wuxia reacted, she stepped forward to catch the Empress Dowager. But she was too late. Everyone was trying to catch the Empress Dowager, but the capable ones were too far away. The less capable ones were close enough, but they were too slow. Hua Wushuang slipped and fell under the Empress Dowager. Thump! The Empress Dowager collapsed on top of Hua Wushuang. Hua Wushuang groaned. Everyone ran around in panic. It's the Empress Dowager. Your Majesty. What's wrong, Your Majesty? Wake up, Your Majesty. Emperor Wu was about to step into the Golden Palace when he turned around and saw the chaos behind him. He was dumbfounded. After all, she was his mother. Emperor Wu, who had decided not to indulge the Empress Dowager too much, couldn't think about anything else. He ran as fast as he could. Mother! Moving through the crowd, Emperor Wu soon appeared in front of the Empress Dowager. Mother, are you all right? How are you? Where's the imperial physician? Chapter 3446. Chapter 3446. Not his idea. Chapter 3446. Not his idea. Master Chu, the imperial physician, was talking to Feng Wu about Bao Er. Hearing the commotion outside at the same time, Feng Wu was speechless. Could the Empress Dowager stop causing trouble? Bao Er was her granddaughter. Master Chu, please go out and help the Empress Dowager, said Feng Wu in resignation. Master Chu said, but Princess Bao Er. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. If you can calm the Empress Dowager down, that'll be a great help to me. I'll be here with Bao Er. You can come back when you're done. The imperial physician knew what Her Majesty was like. Everyone said that elderly people were like children, and Her Majesty was at that stage. She was like a spoiled child with a bad temper, and was more arrogant than a princess. Master Chu felt helpless and cursed inwardly. But since she was the Empress Dowager, and the empire valued filial piety, what else could he do? Seeing Master Chu come out, Emperor Wu asked, what's going on inside? Master Chu said, Miss Feng Wu is checking Bao Er. She says there's still hope. Emperor Wu heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Wu never brags. If she says there's hope, then there is. The Empress Dowager almost jumped out of Emperor Wu's arms. Xiao Wu never liked to brag. Huh? Emperor Wu said in a hurry. Master Chu, take a look at the Empress Dowager. Master Chu glanced at the Empress Dowager. Apart from checking the pulse, one could actually tell if someone was really unconscious just by looking at their face. If one was awake, one couldn't stop their eyes from moving. The Empress Dowager's eyes had twitched when she heard what Emperor Wu said about Feng Wu. How could she really have fainted? Master Chu took the Empress Dowager's pulse. As expected, Master Chu thought of Feng Wu in the Golden Palace. Her face was pale, and he could tell at a glance that she had internal injuries and needed to rest. However, she had rushed over to save Bao Er. But the Empress Dowager, it was just ridiculous. Master Chu was displeased. Although he was only a physician, he could still find a way to teach the Empress Dowager a lesson. Master Chu had many tricks up his sleeve. The Empress Dowager was so excited that she sort of fainted. Don't worry, Your Majesty. She'll be fine. Sort of. Emperor Wu's eyebrows twitched. The Empress Dowager almost jumped up and slapped Master Chu in the face. Even if he knew she was faking it, why didn't he cover it up? What a useless man. She would replace him later. Master Chu smiled bitterly and said, I'm not saying Her Majesty is faking it. It's just a relative term. It's a symptom of her. Well, she fainted, but she didn't lose consciousness. Emperor Wu was confused. Huh? Master Chu said, Don't worry, it's very easy to treat. I'll just stick this needle into her eye and stimulate her. She'll be fine immediately. As he spoke, Master Chu asked the attendant to bring over his personal medicine box. This move wasn't really his own idea. Not long ago, Her Majesty had acted the same way with Feng Wu. That girl took out a needle the length of her finger and said that she wanted to stab the bottom of the Empress Dowager's foot. Immediately, the Empress Dowager's head didn't hurt anymore, and she could breathe normally. Master Chu was just following suit. He felt this method would work. There was a long row of needles in the medicine box. They were arranged according to the length and thickness. Master Chu chose the thickest needle. It was almost like the needle that one used to sew the sole of a shoe. SSSS. The surrounding people gasped. Chapter 3447, Chapter 3447, Saving Bao Er. Chapter 3447, Saving Bao Er. Wasn't that a little ruthless? The Empress Dowager kept her eaves closed. She didn't even dare to move her eyeballs so that Master Chu wouldn't notice. She was having a hard time holding it in. She couldn't see, so her hearing became especially sharp. When she heard everyone's gasps, she immediately became nervous. Master Chu held the thick needle in his hand and said as he approached the Empress Dowager, Give me a hand. Hold the Empress Dowager down. I'm going to stab her right in the eye. Jun Wuxia frowned. Won't that hurt? Master Chu said, Of course it'll hurt, but I'm saving her life. Her Majesty can't stay this way. She needs this. Two maids approached the Empress Dowager and held her down. Empress Dugu could tell at a glance that the Empress Dowager was pretending to be unconscious. Right then, she and the Empress Dowager were on the same side and were going after Feng Wu together. Therefore, Empress Dugu stopped Master Chu. The Empress Dowager doesn't need acupuncture, does she? The Empress Dowager was almost in tears. Empress Dugu's words were so touching. However, Master Chu shook his head and said righteously, No, the Empress Dowager needs this needle for her illness. Master Chu turned around and frowned when he saw Empress Dugu. Your Majesty, you're stopping me from treating Her Majesty. Don't you want Her Majesty to recover? What an accusation. Empress Dugu was rendered speechless. If she insisted, what if Master Chu asked, Who's the imperial physician here, you or me? She wouldn't know how to reply. At that thought, Empress Dugu had no choice but to step aside. She had done what she could, and the Empress Dowager should understand. The Empress Dowager was furious. At that moment Mrs. Hua stepped forward and tried to stop Master Chu. Emperor Wu asked coldly, Does Mrs. Hua have medical skills as well? Do you know more than a physician of the Imperial Hospital? Mrs. Hua was speechless. Why did it feel like Emperor Wu was on Master Chu's side? That was strange. Mrs. Hua and Hua Wushuang hadn't figured out the situation yet. They looked at each other and shook their heads. They couldn't afford to offend Emperor Wu. The Empress Dowager was pressed against the chair, waiting for the needle to pierce her. Just as Master Chu's needle was about to reach the Empress Dowager, she jumped up. Luckily, Master Chu was prepared. or the needle would have pierced the Empress Dowager's eye. The Empress Dowager was utterly embarrassed. When Feng Wu saw Bao Er again in the Golden Palace, the latter was lying on a small ice bed. Feng Wu touched the ice bed. The material was similar to the cold jade bed that her beautiful master slept on, but it wasn't as good. However, such a nice bed was probably the best material one could find in this world. In the mist, Feng Wu saw a 5-year-old girl with delicate features and a tiny chin. She slept on a bed of ice all day long without getting any sunlight, so she looked ghastly pale. Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan. She wasn't sleeping on the ice bed before. Jun Linyuan looked a little tired. He hadn't slept in a long time since he left nest, so his eyes were bloodshot red. His voice was cold as he frowned. Granny Gong said that Bao Er's condition has been very bad recently, so Master Chu made the decision to have her sleep on the ice bed. He wanted to delay the inevitable for as long as possible. Chapter 3448, Chapter 3448, Princess Bao Er. Chapter 3448, Princess Bao Er. Seeing Jun Linyuan's exhausted face, Feng Wu paused and wanted to say something, but kept quiet in the end. She examined Bao Er from head to toe. The longer she examined her, the uglier her expression became. Is it serious? Jun Linyuan asked involuntarily when he saw the look on Feng Wu's face. Feng Wu nodded. It's worse than I expected. Bao Er's almost out of breath. Jun Linyuan hurried over and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, "Don't worry, I'll do my best to save her." Staring at Feng Wu, Jun Linyuan stressed each word. You know that I need more than do my best. What he wanted was Feng Wu's promise. He wanted her to promise that she could save Bao Er. However, Feng Wu shook her head. No doctor can guarantee that they can save a life. After that, Feng Wu took out a vial of medicine from her pocket. That's the immortal spiritual fruit liquid. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. You found it? Because Feng Wu hadn't said anything, Jun Linyuan didn't know about it until now. He was delighted to see it at first, but his eyes soon turned cold. You found it in Sun Castle, right? Feng Wu could feel Jun Linyuan's intimidating gaze, so she lowered her head and pretended to be busy, not daring to meet his eyes. However, Jun Linyuan didn't look happy. It wasn't that dangerous, Feng Wu said weakly. The crown prince stared at her with such cold eyes that Feng Wu almost froze. Feng Wu looked up at him in resignation. If you keep releasing that cold air, Bao Er will freeze to death. The teenager remained silent, his eyes still on Feng Wu. Feng Wu knew that he was angry. She could guess what he was angry about. At that moment, the fairy suddenly spoke in her mind. Dear host, have you made your choice? Feng Wu was almost interrupted. She asked in her head. I still have time, don't? The fairy said. What if you're busy? After you give me the answer, I can click the option for you before the deadline. Feng Wu said, No. The fairy wanted to say something else, but Feng Wu stopped her. I'm going to save someone now. I can't be distracted. Don't jump around in my head. The fairy asked, Save someone? She looked at the pale little girl on the ice bed and said curiously, She's about to die. She can't be saved. Feng Wu said grumpily, I don't care. I owe her my life. What? The fairy was dumbfounded. She was a spiritual plant, so her perception was much stronger than others. She could sense that the little girl on the ice bed had lost a lot of life force, and it was almost impossible for her to wake up. Meanwhile, Feng Wu injected the immortal spiritual fruit liquid into Bao Er's meridians. Someone had already set up a spiritual essence formation around Bao Er. As long as spiritual essence was injected into a crystal ball at the head of the bed, it would enter Bao Er's body through the ice bed and keep her alive. Bao Er had been able to survive until now thanks to the constant infusion of spiritual essence through the crystal ball. The person who injected the spiritual essence had to be quite capable, and Feng Wu couldn't do it. The person had to be at least a spiritual overlord. Luckily, the little girl was precious, or she wouldn't have been able to receive so much spiritual essence. Jun Linyuan was the one who had been injecting spiritual essence into the crystal ball. Chapter 3449, Chapter 3449, Saving Bao Air. Chapter 3449, Saving Bao Air. Jun Linyuan was the one who had been injecting spiritual essence into the crystal ball. Feng Wu gently stroked Bao Air's body and opened all her acupuncture points. This was a very dangerous act. However, Bao Air was barely breathing now. If Feng Wu didn't take the risk, there would be no hope at all. Jun Linyuan had been channeling spiritual essence into her body the entire time. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were unreadable. Master Chu took care of the Empress Dowager and came in. The moment he entered, he saw this scene and was shocked. "You!" Master Chu didn't dare to speak for fear of disturbing Feng Wu. However, he was really worried about her bold action. While he was worried, he was also shocked. There were 720 acupuncture points on the human body, which included 52 single acupuncture points, 300 double acupuncture points, and 50 special acupuncture points. All of them were opened in such a short period of time. What kind of ability was this? If Master Chu knew that Feng Wu had opened all of them in less than a minute, he would probably pass out. Feng Wu looked up and saw Master Chu. She nodded at him. "Please come here." Master Chu hurried over. Feng Wu asked offhandedly, "Is everything all right with the Empress Dowager?" Master Chu smiled bitterly, amazed by Feng Wu's attitude. Didn't she know how much the Crown Prince treasured Princess Bao Air? How could Miss Feng Wu still chat with him? Master Chu darted a look at Jun Linyuan. Seeing that the latter didn't react, Master Chu said to Feng Wu in a low voice, "Her maest was having another one of her episodes. I learned from you and treated her with a needle." Feng Wu glanced at him. Master Chu said it in all seriousness. Those who didn't know better would think that the Empress Dowager really had some chronic disease. Ahem, the Crown Prince frowned. Feng Wu went back to the topic at hand. "Master Chu, please help me keep the needles vibrating." Master Chu looked at Feng Wu in confusion. What needles? While he was still feeling confused, 5 silver needles appeared in Feng Wu's hand. Before Master Chu could see the length of the 5 needles, Feng Wu had already made her move. 5 silver needles pierced Bao Air's acupuncture points. These 5 acupuncture points were 5 of the 36 fatal acupuncture points. Master Chu was so shocked that he almost fell to the floor. His face was deathly pale. He looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Was that really okay? Even a newly minted physician knew that there were 36 fatal acupuncture points on the human body. One could kill someone if they weren't careful when they touched these fatal acupuncture points. How dare she? How could she so casually insert the 5 silver needles into those fatal acupuncture points? Right now the 5 needles were in 5 acupuncture points on the head. Master Chu was on the verge of tears. He looked at Jun Linyuan involuntarily. He thought, "Your Royal Highness, she's your favorite princess. Aren't you going to say something?" Jun Linyuan nodded at Master Chu, telling him to do as Feng Wu said. Master Chu was speechless. All right, the Crown Prince had agreed to it. If something really happened, Master Chu rolled up his sleeves, but before he could do anything, Feng Wu was already using more silver needles. She eventually put 1 needle in each of the 36 fatal acupuncture points. All of them. Master Chu was astonished. He turned around and stared at Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu said calmly, "Master Chu, use your spiritual essence to keep the needles vibrating. Don't let them go too deep or too shallow. Just keep them like this." Chapter 3450 Chapter 3450, Princess Bao Air 1. Chapter 3450, Princess Bao Air 1. Master Chu asked, 1 inch. Isn't that too deep? Feng Wu had broken too many rules for him to understand. He also knew how to stimulate acupuncture points with silver needles, but he only dared to insert them 1/2 inch. The 36 needles had used up a lot of Feng Wu's spiritual essence, so she looked a little pale. Feng Wu shook her head. Bao Air has been sick for so long that she's on the verge of death. 1/2 inch won't work on her. Master Chu nodded. Without another word, he followed Feng Wu's instructions and focused on the 36 silver needles. Meanwhile, Feng Wu took out an elixir and poured it into her mouth, which helped her recover a little. However, she didn't recover much. After that, Feng Wu set up a mirror on the table. Master Chu looked at her in confusion, but didn't ask any questions. He saw that Feng Wu had tied a string around Bao Er's wrist, and the other end of the string was wrapped around the strange-looking water mirror. Soon, a wavy line appeared on the water mirror, and it fluctuated at a slow speed. Moreover, there was a number in the upper right corner of the water mirror. At that moment, the number was 9. What's that? That was Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu said. It represents Bao Er's health. Staring at the wavy line, Feng Wu told Jun Linyuan. The line shows Bao Er's physical condition. Everything's fine when the line is moving at a normal speed. If it becomes a straight line, everything is over. This number 9 is relatively low. No, I should say it's very low. It's 100 for normal people. But it was only 9 for Bao Er. Jun Linyuan nodded, but Feng Wu knew that he was worried. I'll do my best to save Bao Er, Feng Wu promised him again. Jun Linyuan nodded. Feng Wu rubbed her temple. She was too weak. If the assassination attempt in Black Cloud Alley hadn't happened, Feng Wu would have been able to deal with the major treatment with her mental strength and stamina. Now, however, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to keep up. At that thought, Feng Wu downed another bottle of spirit elixir. The best thing about being a semi-divine medicine refiner was that she had an indefinite supply of this potion. Feeling a little more energetic, Feng Wu said to Jun Linyuan, I'm going to start the first treatment. I need 2 spiritual overlords to be on standby. 2 spiritual overlords came at Jun Linyuan's signal. The 2 middle-aged men were unfamiliar to Feng Wu. Were these 2 Jun Linyuan's subordinates? Feng Wu wondered. Jun Linyuan surely had a lot of power if he could order 2 spiritual overlords around. No wonder he looked at the elders as if they were dummies. The 2 spiritual overlords walked up to Feng Wu and looked at her inquisitively. Feng Wu said, I'm going to operate on Bao Er next. She's suffering from lesions in several organs. I have to take this opportunity to get rid of these lesions in one go. Before Feng Wu could finish, the crown prince frowned again. How many? Feng Wu said. She needs a liver incision. Her stomach needs a resection. Her gallbladder needs an incision. Feng Wu named 6 places in one go. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. To be honest, Bao Er's genes aren't very good. She was born with serious ailments. If you hadn't spent so much on her medication, she wouldn't have been able to survive. Chapter 3451, Chapter 3451. Princess Bao Er 2. Chapter 3451. Princess Bao Er 2. The crown prince asked, what will happen in the future? Feng Wu said, once she recovers, diseases won't invade her body so easily, and she won't get sick all the time. The crown prince nodded. After some thought he asked, do we have to work on all 6 places at once? Feng Wu had never looked so serious before. Yes, we have to treat all 6 of them. Mister. Lu has 1 such lesion but Bao Er has 6. We're really fighting with death itself for Bao Er. Others would only tell Jun Linyuan that Bao Er was incurable, and no one had ever told him that apart from being weak, Bao Er had 6 other major health issues. Let's begin. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything else. Feng Wu nodded and instructed the 2 spiritual overlords. The 2 of you aren't here to save Bao Er, but to transfer spiritual essence to me. The 2 spiritual overlords frowned at Feng Wu. Aren't we going to save Princess Bao Er when needed? Feng Wu said, no, I'm the one you need to save at short notice. Jun Linyuan's stomach lurched when he saw Feng Wu's pale face. Speed. Moreover, there was a number in the upper right corner of the water mirror. At that moment, the number was 9. What's that? That was Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu said. It represents Bao Er's health. Staring at the wavy line, Feng Wu told Jun Linyuan. The line shows Bao Er's physical condition. Everything's fine when the line is moving at a normal speed. If it becomes a straight line, everything is over. This number 9 is relatively low. No, I should say it's very low. It's 100 for normal people. But it was only 9 for Bao Er. Jun Linyuan nodded, but Feng Wu knew that he was worried. I'll do my best to save Bao Er, Feng Wu promised him again. Jun Linyuan nodded. Feng Wu rubbed her temple. She was too weak. If the assassination attempt in Black Cloud Alley hadn't happened, Feng Wu would have been able to deal with the major treatment with her mental strength and stamina. Now, however, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to keep up. At that thought, Feng Wu downed another bottle of spirit elixir. The best thing about being a semi-divine medicine refiner was that she had an indefinite supply of this potion. Feeling a little more energetic, Feng Wu said to Jun Linyuan, I'm going to start the first treatment. I need 2 spiritual overlords to be on standby. RLAJ-0 spiritual overlords came at Jun Linyuan's signal. The 2 middle-aged men were unfamiliar to Feng Wu. Were these 2 Jun Linyuan's subordinates? Feng Wu wondered. Jun Linyuan surely had a lot of power, if he could order 2 spiritual overlords around. No wonder he looked at the elders as if they were dummies. The 2 spiritual overlords walked up to Feng Wu and looked at her inquisitively. Feng Wu said, I'm going to operate on Bao Er next. She's suffering from lesions in several organs. I have to take this opportunity to get rid of these lesions in one go. Before Feng Wu could finish, the Crown Prince frowned again. How many? Feng Wu said, she needs a liver incision. Her stomach needs a resection. Her gallbladder needs an incision. Feng Wu named 6 places in one go. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. To be honest, Bao Er's genes aren't very good. She was born with serious ailments. If you hadn't spent so much on her medication, she wouldn't have been able to survive. Chapter 3452. Chapter 3452. The Crown Prince's Girl 1. Chapter 3452. The Crown Prince's Girl 1. Master Chu hurried on with his work, but inwardly, he couldn't help but admire Feng Wu. She was really bold. Wasn't she afraid that the knife would cut into Bao Er's liver? After that, Feng Wu began to work at full speed. She quickly determined the location of the lesion and used a thick needle to seal the surroundings. She cut open the hepatic capsule and completely removed the lesion. Then, she quickly sutured the ducts and the epidermis. One of the 6 major lesions had already been cut out. Although Feng Wu looked calm, everyone could tell that she wasn't in good condition. Xiao Wu, are you feeling unwell? Duan Chaoge looked at Feng Wu with concern and frowned. You look awful. Are you hurt? Feng Wu said, I'll be fine. Duan Chaoge wanted to say something else, but Feng Wu stared at Bao Er's health bar. It had dropped to 7. She couldn't afford to delay any longer. Let's move on to the next one. Feng Wu took a deep breath. The immortal spiritual fruit liquid had been injected. Because Bao Er was too weak, the effect of the medicine was very slow. She was still in extreme danger, and her health bar was decreasing bit by bit. Duan Chaoge had no choice but to listen to Feng Wu. Scalpel number 2, said Feng Wu. Duan Chaoge picked up the second scalpel and handed it over. This time Feng Wu performed a stomach incision. Duan Chaoge handed Feng Wu what she needed as she watched Feng Wu's swift movements. Scalpel, pliers, needle, thread. By the time Master Chu reacted, Feng Wu's second operation was complete. How incredible! Master Chu didn't think the operation was supposed to be like this. At least, they had to cut out and remove the lesions carefully. It should take at least a few hours to finish one, but Feng Wu took less than 5 minutes. However, there seemed to be no problem at all. Seeing the sweat on Feng Wu's forehead, Duan Chaoge took out a white cotton cloth and wiped it off. As a matter of fact, Feng Wu was already feeling a little dizzy. She wanted to cut out another lesion, but she couldn't hold on anymore. Feng Wu waved her hand. I'm going to rest for a while. Wake me up in 5 minutes. Feng Wu said that to Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan nodded. Feng Wu didn't go anywhere else. She sat in a corner and leaned against the wall to recover her mental strength. Feng Wu had already taken medicine, but it wasn't good to drink too much in one go. If she drank too much, she would suffer a mental breakdown. Therefore, Feng Wu stopped drinking and circulated her spiritual essence to restore her mental strength. Time passed. 5 minutes later, everyone turned to look at Feng Wu, but she showed no signs of waking up. Everyone looked at Jun Linyuan. At that moment, Feng came in and whispered something in Jun Linyuan's ear. The crown prince's face darkened. Someone had tried to assassinate Feng Wu, and they even stopped her in Black Cloud Alley. Who was it? Jun Linyuan asked. Feng said, I didn't have time to look into that yet, but it has to be one of those families. Jun Linyuan looked at Feng Wu, who was resting in the corner. Was she really that badly injured? Previously, he could tell that she wasn't in a good state, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. He had promised to protect her. However, even the crown prince didn't expect that Feng Wu would be targeted the moment she came out of the portal. He had thought that it would take some time for the news of her return to spread. Feng Wu's face was ghastly pale, and she was sweating profusely. Her clothes were already a little wet. Chapter 3453. Chapter 3453. The Crown Prince's Girl too. Chapter 3453. The Crown Prince's Girl too. Hinvi. Jun Linyuan couldn't believe that the girl wouldn't say a word and would carry the burden on her own. He wanted nothing more than to drag her over and scold her. But he couldn't bear to. Just then, there was a commotion outside. The Empress Dowager led a group of people, but the instigator was actually Empress Dugu. As soon as the Empress Dowager walked in, she saw Feng Wu resting in the corner. One look and she was infuriated. What's going on? The Empress Dowager was furious. Didn't you say you were going to save Bao Er? Is this how you're doing it? Feng Wu was still leaning against the wall, her eyes closed and her face pale. Jun Linyuan frowned when he saw the Empress Dowager. But before he could say anything, the Empress Dowager strode toward Feng Wu. The Empress Dowager said, I've never seen such a lazy person. Since you're not here to save Bao Er, take her away, Anne. That's enough. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes. He glared at Feng. Feng walked up to the Empress Dowager and bowed. Your Majesty, please leave. However, the Empress Dowager didn't even look at the steward. She only stared at Feng Wu. Granny Gui, who was standing next to the Empress Dowager, tried to pull Feng Wu away, but Feng stopped her with a look. Seeing the argument, Empress Dugu gloated inwardly, but she couldn't show it on her face. The Empress Dowager was about to step forward, when Jun Linyuan said, That's enough. Instantly, all eyes were on Jun Linyuan. The Empress Dowager said, Baby Jun. Jun Linyuan frowned. If you still want Bao Er alive, please leave. The Empress Dowager had always doted on Jun Linyuan, so although Jun Linyuan was impatient with everything, he treated the Empress Dowager differently. His attitude now hurt the Empress Dowager. Now that the Empress Dowager was picking on Feng Wu, it was time for Jun Linyuan to pick a side. Should he side with the Empress Dowager or Feng Wu? However, the answer was obvious. The Crown Prince had asked the Empress Dowager to leave. How could the old Empress Dowager, who had always regarded Jun Linyuan as a treasure, take that? She felt wronged. Jun Linyuan felt a headache coming on, but he still frowned and stared at the Empress Dowager. Get out now. The Empress Dowager was furious. Fine. The Empress Dowager smirked. She went after Feng Wu instead of Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu was finally woken up. She rubbed her temple and woke up, still feeling a little tired. Due to the interruption, Feng Wu hadn't recovered very well this time, and her head was still aching. However, before she could say anything, the Empress Dowager bellowed at her. Feng Wu, I'll remember you. Feng Wu looked at the Empress Dowager in bewilderment. How did she offend? Tianyi Empress Dowager TMS Timek. Before Feng Wu could say anything, the Empress Dowager stormed off. Feng Wu was speechless. What was going on? Empress Dugu gave Feng Wu a meaningful look, sighed, and hurried off to help the Empress Dowager. Jun Wuxia glared at Feng Wu. How dare you make grandmother angry? Feng Wu, you're dead. Feng Wu was confused. Before Feng Wu knew what was going on, the group had already left. What's going on? Rubbing her temples, Feng Wu stood up and looked at Jun Linyuan in confusion. The crown prince wasn't in a good mood either. He said calmly, "It's fine. You can continue treating Bao Er." Feng Wu said, "All right." It was obvious that he didn't want her to pry, but Feng Wu knew that the Empress Dowager hated her now. Chapter 3454. Chapter 3454. The Crown Prince's Girl 3. Chapter 3454. The Crown Prince's Girl 3. However, the most important thing now was to save Bao Er. Hence, Feng Wu hurried over to Bao Er's side. Frowning, Jun Linyuan asked Feng in a low voice, "Where's the emperor?" Feng smiled bitterly. Something happened in the military, and His Majesty went back to the palace. Jun Linyuan asked, "Is it the Dongxing Kingdom?" Feng nodded. Jun Linyuan said, "Go to nest." Feng looked worriedly at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan said, "Your job is to protect me, but I don't think I need your protection right now." Feng gave his young master a resentful look, then turned to Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan said seriously, "I'm here." As for her, the crown prince glanced at the girl's slender figure and said calmly, "I'll just tie her to me with a rope." Feng smacked his forehead. However, at the thought of nest he nodded. Okay. He left quickly, and Jun Linyuan's attention went back to Bao Er. He saw Feng Wu use the scalpel again, and Bao Er's health was still dropping. It had already dropped to 6. Jun Linyuan frowned imperceptibly. With a cold face, he continued to pour spiritual essence into the crystal ball. Without the spiritual essence from the formation, Bao Er would be dead by now. There were 6 lesions on Bao Er's body, and Feng Wu had already removed 2 of them. Now that she had recovered a little, she continued the operations. The 3rd, the 4th. Seeing the sweat on Feng Wu's forehead, Duan Chaoge wiped it off. That was what Feng Wu had taught her. If sweat rolled down and stained the wound, it would cause a lot of trouble. By the 4th operation, Feng Wu's eyes were already blurry, and her legs were so weak that she could barely stand. However, Bao Er only had 4 health points now. Jun Linyuan asked one of the spiritual overlords to ingest spiritual essence into the crystal ball, while he stood behind Feng Wu. A palm landed on Feng Wu's back. Immediately, a warm current flowed into Feng Wu's back and saturated her limbs before flowing into her head. Feng Wu had been feeling a little groggy, but she immediately came back to her senses. "What are you doing here?" Feng Wu looked back at Jun Linyuan. "It's best if you control the crystal ball. No one else can do it as well as you can, and Bao Er won't be able to handle any errors." Feng Wu frowned at him. "You're more important," Jun Linyuan said calmly. Feng Wu felt as if she had been hit in the chest. She stood there perplexed. The crown prince glanced at her and said in a serious tone, "You're a doctor. If you get sick, Bao Er will die too. That's why you're more important." Feng Wu said, "I see. That made sense. The immortal spiritual fruit liquid is slowly taking effect, but Bao Er's old ailments are too serious, so the liquid is only half as effective as usual." Feng Wu shook her head regretfully. Jun Linyuan said, "Then Bao Er." Feng Wu said, "I guess there's only one option." "What?" Everyone looked at Feng Wu curiously. Meanwhile, Feng Wu took out a syringe and drew a large amount of blood from her veins. Feng Wu's blood was different from others. Because she had the divine phoenix blood, her blood was a faint golden color and looked very dazzling. "Xiao Wu Yu." Duan Chaoge looked at Feng Wu with a pained expression and gritted her teeth. "You're not feeling well, and you're mentally weak. How are you going to take it? Your face is so pale." Chapter 3455. Chapter 3455. The Crown Prince's Girl 4? Chapter 3455. The Crown Prince's Girl 4. Feng Wu's face was very pale indeed. It was as if she had been sucked dry of all blood. Even her lips were terrifyingly pale. Feng Wu smiled bitterly and waved her hand. "That's not important." Duan Chaoge was anxious. She didn't know Bao Er. She only cared about Feng Wu. Duan Chaoge wanted to say something else, but Feng Wu shook her head. "Bao Er only has this one chance. If we don't take it, she'll die. On the other hand, my cultivation can recover." "Recover? What?" Duan Chaoga didn't understand. But Jun Linyuan got it. Feng Wu's cultivation level had dropped after drawing the blood. She used to be a level 6 spiritual king, but she now dropped to level 5, then level 4. The crown prince's pupils contracted. He looked at the petite girl with sympathy. Apart from Feng Wu, who else would be willing to lose their cultivation just to save a person who wasn't related to them? What a silly girl. Feng Wu didn't care what the others thought. She focused all her attention on Bao Er. Bao Er didn't have much time left. Right now she was in a race against death. Feng Wu injected the golden blood into Bao Er, and after she recovered a little, she began to operate on Bao Er again. While she was doing that, Jun Linyuan pressed his warm hand against her lower back and injected spiritual essence into her. It was also Feng Wu's first time learning that spiritual essence could be injected into others. But then again, Jun Linyuan had been able to force his spiritual essence into her body to help her refine the magical soul vine's poison last time. There was nothing Jun Linyuan couldn't do. With spiritual essence and mental strength, Feng Wu could resume the treatment. This time, her movements were even faster. Master Chu's vision blurred, and in less than 5 minutes, Feng Wu had completed the last 2 operations. After she was done, her hand trembled, and the sharp scalpel almost fell to the floor. The next moment, Jun Linyuan reached out and pulled the exhausted Feng Wu into his arms. He took a look at Bao Er's health points. In the next second, Jun Linyuan frowned. Still not working. Even after this girl tried her best, she still couldn't save Bao Er. Jun Linyuan wasn't the only one staring at the health bar. Feng Wu was too. She had not completely fainted. At this moment, she was staring at Bao Er's health bar. If it dropped any further, Feng Wu's stomach lurched. She had worked so hard to save Bao Er. She had gone deep into Sun Castle and almost died there. It had taken painstaking effort to steal the immortal spiritual fruit liquid from Mr. Sakiya. Wasn't it enough? Despair appeared on Master Chu's face, but it was within his expectations. After all, Bao Er had been on her deathbed for so many years. She had been on the verge of death ever since she was born. But Jun Linyuan and Master Chu had saved her every time. But this time was she going to die? Everyone thought that Bao Er wouldn't make it. Meanwhile outside, the Empress Dowager didn't leave. She sat on a chair outside the door and waited. She wanted to see how Feng Wu would answer her in the end. Since the Empress Dowager hadn't left, the others didn't either. Chapter 3456. Chapter 3456. The Crown Prince's Girl 5. Chapter 3456. The Crown Prince's Girl 5. The Empress Dowager wouldn't leave, and neither would the others. Hence, Empress Dugu and everyone else sat outside the door, and the silence was terrifying. Everyone knew that the Empress Dowager was throwing a tantrum, so they didn't dare breathe too loudly for fear of offending her. The Empress Dowager was fuming when she suddenly looked at Hua Wushuang. Hua Wushuang's stomach lurched. The way the Empress Dowager looked at her, something wasn't right. Sure enough, the next moment, the Empress Dowager asked Mrs. Hua, "How old is Wushuang? When is her birthday?" Mrs. Hua was experienced enough to know what the Empress Dowager was up to. However, she didn't want to marry Hua Wushuang to another prince. Match her birthday with baby Jun's, and see if they have good marriage compatibility. The Empress Dowager didn't beat around the bush. Mrs. Iranstater. Hua pretended Ini Iranstatlons to demur. Are you Ini sure? Iranstatlons. The Empress Dowager wouldn't leave, and neither would the others. Hence, Empress Dugu and everyone else sat outside the door, and the silence was terrifying. Everyone knew that the Empress Dowager was throwing a tantrum, so they didn't dare breathe too loudly for fear of offending her. The Empress Dowager was fuming when she suddenly looked at Hua Wushuang. Hua Wushuang's stomach lurched. The way the Empress Dowager looked at her, something wasn't right. Sure enough, the next moment, the Empress Dowager asked Mrs. Hua, "How old is Wushuang? When is her birthday?" Mrs. Hua was experienced enough to know what the Empress Dowager was up to. However, She didn't want to marry Hua Wuxuang to another prince. Match her birthday with baby June's, and see if they have good marriage compatibility. The Empress Dowager didn't beat around the bush. Mrs. Hua pretended to demur. Are you sure? Hua Wuxuang had never met June Linyuan before, and she thought what people said about him was rather exaggerated. However, when she followed the others just now and saw the peerless youth, her heart raced. Therefore, she lowered her head shyly and poked her grandmother with her hand hidden in her sleeve. Mrs. Hua naturally knew what she meant. What girl wouldn't love such a handsome and outstanding young man? However, Mrs. Hua still had to look like she wanted to decline the offer. Your Majesty, well, Mrs. Hua smiled bitterly. When we went in just now, Miss Feng Wu and the Crown Prince. The Empress Dowager waved her hand rudely. She's nothing. If baby June likes her, she can be the concubine. The Crown Prince's wife is going to be a lady from a prestigious family. It's not her place. Hua Wuxuang lowered her head. She was overjoyed, but she didn't let it show. She thought, Feng Wu seems to have been close to the Crown Prince for a long time. If I become the Crown Prince's wife, she'll be the first to be eliminated. I heard she's engaged to the Crown Prince. The Hua family wasn't an ordinary family, so they had to get the facts straight first. The Empress Dowager waved her hand. The engagement was over a long time ago. Do you really believe what that girl has been telling everybody? Mrs. Hua was surprised. The engagement has already been cancelled, yet she's still saying. Mrs. Hua looked at Empress Dugu. Empress Dugu felt bitter. To be honest, she didn't want to offend Feng Wu since as far as she knew, His Majesty strongly supported Feng Wu, and June Linyuan liked Feng Wu. However, she had tried her best to slander Feng Wu. As a result, the Empress Dowager was deeply prejudiced against Feng Wu. At that moment, Empress Dugu smiled. Mrs. Hua, just listen to the Empress Dowager. Mrs. Hua smiled. Of course. By the way, isn't there Miss Wuqingwan as well? That's also a story the girl herself made up. The Empress Dowager was infuriated. I don't know what's going on with these girls, but they keep trying to get close to the Crown Prince and insist that they're engaged to baby June. The Empress Dowager clicked her tongue, which was enough to show how disdainful she felt. Mrs. Hua looked shocked. How could they do that? The Empress Dowager smirked. They did that, all right. Anyway, don't worry. My baby June isn't engaged yet. When your Wuxuang marries. Chapter 3457. Chapter 3457. Random Matchmaking 1. Chapter 3457. Random Matchmaking 1. The Empress Dowager smirked. Why wouldn't they do it? Anyway, don't worry. My baby June isn't engaged yet. When your Wuxuang marries into the family, that won't girl dare to do anything to the Crown Prince's consort. Hua Wuxuang didn't expect the Empress Dowager to be so supportive of her. She was thrilled, but she didn't let it show. June Wuxia kept glancing at Hua Wuxuang. As far as she could remember, the Crown Prince and Feng Wu were engaged. She vaguely remembered what her father said. June Wuxia couldn't help but look at the Empress Dowager. Her grandmother was so bold. How could she make such a promise to the Hua family? Mrs. Hua looked like she was unable to turn down the offer after all. She could only smile and say yes. June Wuxia was speechless. But why would Mrs. Hua say no? She was just taking advantage of the Empress Dowager's anger. When the Empress Dowager came back to her senses, she wouldn't want to face the Emperor and June Linyuan's rage. Still, June Wuxia loved to see Feng Wu get in trouble. The more people targeted Feng Wu, the happier June Wuxia was. Hence, she ran up and held Hua Wuxuang's arm. Sister Hua, you'll be my sister-in-law one day. You have to take good care of me. Hua Wuxuang blushed. I don't know what you're talking about. June Wuxia said. Grandmother said you'll marry the Crown Prince. As for Feng Wu, don't worry about her. The world outside belongs to men, but my grandmother can do whatever she wants here. Empress Dugu glanced at June Wuxia. Empress Dugu had been tricked by Feng Wu many times, and she had learned to stay out of Feng Wu's business. Jun Wuxia didn't know that yet. Empress Dugu had no choice but to step forward and pull Jun Wuxia behind her. She smiled at Mrs. Hua. "Congratulations, Mrs. Hua." At this moment a voice came from outside. "Congratulations? Is Bao Er all right?" Everyone looked outside and saw Lady Northern Feng. She was Feng Wu's godmother. Lady Northern Feng greeted the Empress Dowager as soon as she arrived. The Empress Dowager's face darkened when she saw Lady Northern Feng, and remembered that she and Feng Wu were mother and daughter. Lady Northern Feng was a wonderful woman. She had been an orphan girl in the palace, and even the Empress Dowager had doted on her. It wasn't because of her looks, but her bright personality. Hence, Lady Northern Feng went up to the Empress Dowager and held her arm. She asked warmly, "What's wrong? Who made Her Majesty angry?" "Wuxia, was it you?" Jun Wuxia denied it. "It wasn't me. It was Feng Wu." Lady Northern Feng said, "I heard she was treating Bao Er. How did she offend Her Majesty?" Seeing the look on the Empress Dowager's face, Lady Northern Feng realized the latter was really infuriated. She smiled and said, "No matter what, Your Majesty is an elder. It would be disrespectful for a junior like her not to please you. Your Majesty, don't be angry. I'll teach her a lesson when she comes out, and ask her to apologize to you." The Empress Dowager shook off Lady Northern Feng's hand in a fit of pique. "I don't want her apology." Lady Northern Feng's stomach lurched. What had Feng Wu done to make Her Majesty so angry? At that thought, Lady Northern Feng changed the subject. "By the way, General Feng sent me a letter about the Dongxing Kingdom. The Crown Prince did a great job this time." The Empress Dowager was still angry with Jun Linyuan for siding with Feng Wu. She had done so much to bring him up, but he had just asked her to leave the room. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Chapter 3458. Chapter 3458. Random Matchmaking 2. Chapter 3458. Random Matchmaking 2. Normally, the Empress Dowager would have asked Lady Northern Feng questions by now, but her face was still grim. Lady Northern Feng's stomach lurched. It seemed that it was a big problem this time. However, she knew the Empress Dowager best, and she was the best at coaxing the old lady. Therefore, Lady Northern Feng wasn't anxious at all. Instead, she smiled and said, "But it was a close call. His Royal Highness almost died in the Dongxing Kingdom." "What?" As she had expected, the Empress Dowager was so anxious that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. She stared at Lady Northern Feng nervously. Feng Xiangnan presided over Ness Fortress, and his only hobby was writing letters to his wife. "We were going to lose, but in the end, a girl risked her life and fought like there was no tomorrow. Finally, she won the competition and obtained the opportunity to deliver the medicine. This girl must be in love with baby June." The Empress Dowager chimed in with certainty. Lady Northern Feng wasn't sure, so she didn't answer the Empress Dowager, and only continued to tell the story. After the Crown Prince took the pill, he gained the upper hand. Just then, a figure appeared at the door. It was Emperor Wu. After dealing with the matter of the Dongxing Kingdom, Emperor Wu returned with his chief steward, Master Gao. Seeing him, Lady Northern Feng was about to salute him, when Emperor Wu waved his hand, signaling her to continue. Lady Northern Feng nodded and went on. The medicine which that girl gave His Royal Highness was divine. After taking it, the Crown Prince's condition improved. Hua Wushuang frowned. If that's true, then this medicine must be a semi-divine elixir. Therefore, the general would write to his wife to tell her everything that happened in Nest, as long as it wasn't confidential information. Everyone in Peace Grassland knew what wonders Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu had done in the Dongxing Kingdom, and there was no need to keep it a secret. Therefore, he wrote a letter to his wife every day. That was why Lady Northern Feng knew everything that had happened in Peace Grassland. "Sit down and tell me." Seeing that Lady Northern Feng wouldn't say anything, the Empress Dowager dragged her to a seat. She hated Feng Wu, not her baby June, so she was still worried. Hence, Lady Northern Feng told her about how the Crown Prince had fought Night Owl when he had yet to recover from his injuries. It was an earth-shattering battle. Dragging his sickly body, our crown prince withstood his enemy. If he hadn't been injured, he would have won. Later on, there was an opportunity to give him a pill. However, we had to defeat the strongest team at the same spiritual king stage to obtain this opportunity. Hua Wushuang's eyes lit up. Lady Northern Feng, can you tell me her name? I'd like to meet her. Mrs. Hua smiled wryly. The person you want to meet is that semi-divine medicine refiner. After that, Mrs. Hua explained to everyone. Wushuang is also a medicine refiner. She's quite talented and is about to become a supreme-level medicine refiner. She's just one step away. Mrs. Hua was still showing off when she said that. Chapter 3459. Chapter 3459. The Genius Girl won. Chapter 3459. The Genius Girl won. However, Mrs. Hua wondered if she was seeing things, because she felt that His Majesty seemed to be looking at her meaningfully. When Mrs. Hua looked at him, His Majesty had already turned to look at Lady Northern Feng. At that moment, Hua Wushuang nodded and said to Lady Northern Feng seriously, I've been stuck at the supreme level, so I'd like to meet this senior medicine refiner and ask for her advice. Senior. Emperor Wu glanced at Hua Wushuang. Emperor Wu was now certain that the semi-divine medicine refiner was his future daughter-in-law, Feng Wu. He had given Feng Wu access to the medicinal herbs warehouse in the palace and allowed her to refine pills at will, which allowed her to reach the semi-divine level in one go. Moreover, she had taken away the divine cauldron that was in the palace. Apart from Emperor Wu, Feng was the only one who knew about it. So no one here knew that his genius future daughter-in-law was a semi-divine medicine refiner. However, Mrs. Hua wondered if she was seeing things, because she felt that His Majesty seemed to be looking at her meaningfully. When Mrs. Hua looked at him, His Majesty had already turned to look at Lady Northern Feng. At that moment, Hua Wushuang nodded and said to Lady Northern Feng seriously, I've been stuck at the supreme level, so I'd like to meet this senior medicine refiner and ask for her advice. Senior. Emperor Wu glanced at Hua Wushuang. Emperor Wu was now certain that the semi-divine medicine refiner was his future daughter-in-law, Feng Wu. He had given Feng Wu access to the medicinal herbs warehouse in the palace and allowed her to refine pills at will, which allowed her to reach the semi-divine level in one go. Moreover, she had taken away the divine cauldron that was in the palace. Apart from Emperor Wu, Feng was the only one who knew about it. So no one here knew that his genius future daughter-in-law was a semi-divine medicine refiner. At that thought, Emperor Wu was very pleased. He knew something that the others didn't. Emperor Wu glanced at Hua Wushuang. How old are you? Your Majesty, I'm 18, Hua Wushuang said respectfully. Emperor Wu nodded and said nothing. Xiao Wu was only 14 years old, much younger than this one. She was a junior, not a senior. Emperor Wu still didn't know what the Empress Dowager had promised. If he did, he would probably explode on the spot. At that moment, the Empress Dowager cleared her throat. What happened next? Lady Northern Feng almost forgot what she was saying. She straightened her face and continued. When the Crown Prince was about to win, Night Owl blew himself up with the Crown Prince in his arms. OMG! The Empress Dowager turned pale. How was Baby June? How was he? Lady Northern Feng said. His Royal Highness was knocked out by the explosion, and we didn't know if he was still alive. The Empress Dowager said. What? Lady Northern Feng said. His Royal Highness was on his deathbed. The Empress Dowager trembled. What? Lady Northern Feng said. It's true. The general said that he was going to hold a funeral for the Crown Prince, but that girl came out. She said that the only thing that could save His Royal Highness was the immortal spiritual fruit liquid. Yes, yes. Hua Wushuang hurriedly nodded. That girl is right. Only the immortal spiritual fruit liquid can revive people. It seems that this girl is very close to that semi-divine medicine refiner. Is she her disciple? Lady Northern Feng gave Hua Wushuang a strange look. The Empress Dowager snapped, quiet. Hua Wuxuang didn't expect the Empress Dowager, who had been so fond of her a moment ago, to suddenly turn against her. She felt like crying, but the others weren't surprised. The Empress Dowager had always been like that. Tell me, the Empress Dowager urged Lady Northern Feng. Lady Northern Feng recounted how Feng Wu had risked her life to steal the immortal spiritual fruit from Mr. Sakiya of the Dongseng Kingdom. Of course, she didn't go into the details. General Feng didn't write that much in his letter, so she had to rely on her imagination. She was a great storyteller, and her storytelling was entertaining and thrilling. It was even more exciting than what Feng Wu had actually experienced. All eyes were on Lady Northern Feng, and no one wanted to miss a word. Every sentence was as exciting as the next. OMG. Chapter 3460, Chapter 3460, The Genius Girl 2. Chapter 3460, The Genius Girl 2. OMG. Jun Wuxia looked at Lady Northern Feng in disbelief. Is that true? Did that really happen? Lady Northern Feng said proudly. My husband said so in his letter. What do you think? Feng Xiangnan was the most capable general of the Zhenwu Empire. No one would doubt what he said. It had to be true. Emperor Wu darted a look at Lady Northern Feng and found her rather naughty. She didn't mention the girl's name on purpose, but kept complimenting her. Jun Wuxia and Hua Wuxuang were idolizing that girl. But if they found out that it was Feng Wu? Jun Wuxia said, that girl is amazing. How did she do it? Hua Wuxuang also chimed in. That was so dangerous. If she wasn't careful, she could have been killed. This girl is so powerful. I don't think she's very young, is she? Lady Northern Feng didn't answer her. Instead, she continued to brag about Feng Wu. With the immortal spiritual fruit, the crown prince was cured. Your Majesty, do you think we should reward this girl? Yes, of course. I have to reward her. Generously. The Empress Dowager was thrilled. Lady Northern Feng said, Your Majesty, don't be in such a hurry. There's more. The Empress Dowager said, There's more? Lady Northern Feng said, That's right. We haven't finished talking about the girl yet. She rushed over to Sun Castle again when she found out that the Dongseng Kingdom had a second immortal spiritual fruit. Lady Northern Feng told them about how Feng Wu had barged into the castle alone. Not only did she get the immortal spiritual fruit, she also obtained 200 fighter jets. If stealing the first immortal spiritual fruit liquid was dangerous, then the second time simply wasn't something a person could do. 200 fighter jets. Although the Zhenwu Empire couldn't make fighter jets, that didn't mean that they hadn't seen them before. They had all seen fighter jets when the Dongseng Kingdom bombarded the Zhenwu Empire. They were so precious. It would be amazing to have one, but 200? Who was she kidding? The Empress Dowager couldn't believe it, but Emperor Wu smiled at that moment. Lady Northern Feng is right, but I didn't expect Feng Xiangnan to tell you about it. What? It was true. Everyone looked at Lady Northern Feng in shock. Lady Northern Feng smiled. Your Majesty, if you let him come back, he won't have to write so many letters. Emperor Wu smiled bitterly. How could Nest survive without him? Without Feng Xiangnan, Nest would be as vulnerable as an unguarded egg. It would probably be destroyed as if it was made of paper. Who is she? Hua Wuxuang suddenly felt threatened. Everyone looked at Lady Northern Feng curiously. Lady Northern Feng, on the other hand, looked confused. Didn't I tell you her name? You didn't, the Empress Dowager snapped. Tell me who she is. I'm about to reward her. This child is incredible. She's the pillar of the country now, and she'll be incredible in the future. Besides, she saved Junjun's life. A girl like that should be brought into the royal family. The Empress Dowager made the decision. Junjun isn't married yet. Lady Northern Feng was dumbfounded. If the Empress Dowager hadn't said that, Lady Northern Feng would have been happy to say the name. But after what she said, wouldn't mentioning Feng Wu be like a slap to the Empress Dowager's face? Lady Northern Feng wondered what she should do. However, the Empress Dowager kept urging her. Tell me, who is it? Chapter 3461. Chapter 3461. Who's that girl? Chapter 3461. Who's that girl? However, the Empress Dowager kept urging her. Tell me, who is it? Lady Northern Feng gave the Empress Dowager a complicated look. The Empress Dowager wasn't the only one urging her. The others urged her as well, and Hua Wuxia was looking at her eagerly. Only Mrs. Hua frowned slightly. Rubbing his chin, Emperor Wu smiled smugly. Exasperated, Lady Northern Feng could only smile wryly. Can't you guess who she is? Guess? Did she mean? Do we know her? Jun Wuxia stared at Lady Northern Feng in amazement. Lady Northern Feng said, Of course. It's Feng Wu. Empress Dugu, who was taking a sip of tea, couldn't hold her breath, and immediately spat the tea back into the teacup. She realized how inappropriate that was and quickly looked up. When she realized that no one was paying attention to her, she slowly heaved a sigh of, I Ranstater. I Ranstatlons. However, the Empress Dowager kept urging her. Tell me, who is it? Lady Northern Feng gave the Empress Dowager a complicated look. The Empress Dowager wasn't the only one urging her. The others urged her as well, and Hua Wuxia was looking at her eagerly. Only Mrs. Hua frowned slightly. Rubbing his chin, Emperor Wu smiled smugly. Exasperated, Lady Northern Feng could only smile wryly. Can't you guess who she is? Guess? Did she mean? Do we know her? Jun Wuxia stared at Lady Northern Feng in amazement. Lady Northern Feng said, Of course. It's Feng Wu. Empress Dugu, who was taking a sip of tea, couldn't hold her breath, and immediately spat the tea back into the teacup. She realized how inappropriate that was and quickly looked up. When she realized that no one was paying attention to her, she slowly heaved a sigh of relief. Passing the teacup to her maid, Empress Dugu wiped the tea off her lips with a handkerchief and glanced at the Empress Dowager. As expected, the Empress Dowager's face was dark and gloomy, and it was quite scary. Lady Northern Feng had been late to arrive, so she probably didn't know that the Empress Dowager was angry at Feng Wu. Thinking that, Empress Dugu smirked. Meanwhile, Jun Wuxia jumped to her feet. That's impossible. How is that possible? How can Feng Wu do that? I don't believe it. Lady Northern Feng smiled. I wouldn't have believed it if the general hadn't written it himself. The crowd was speechless. The general had said so it had to be true. Hua Wuxia frowned. Isn't Miss Feng Wu a level 2 spiritual king? Hua Wuxia saw Feng Wu as her love rival, and wanted to criticize the latter whenever she could. Jun Wuxia said anxiously, That's right. Isn't Feng Wu a level 2 spiritual king? Everyone at Imperial College said that she was making breakthroughs so fast. But according to you, Lady Northern Feng, she did all those things in Sun Castle, when she's only a level 2 spiritual king. That's ridiculous. Hua Wuxia nodded. That was right. Lady Northern Feng gave them a strange look. Jun Wuxia asked, What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? Lady Northern Feng said, My husband said that little Feng Wu is already a level 6 spiritual king. Those words struck Jun Wuxia like a bolt of lightning. Level 6 spiritual king. While she was still struggling to become a spiritual elder, Feng Wu was already a level 6 spiritual king. How is that possible? As far as I know, Zhuo Qingwan is only a level 2 spiritual king. Why would Feng Wu? Lady Northern Feng glanced at Jun Wuxia. Have you forgotten that Feng Wu has the divine phoenix blood? Zhuo Qingwan only has the true phoenix blood. How can she be better than Feng Wu? How could Zhuo Qingwan compare with Feng Wu? Jun Wuxia wanted to cry. Zhuo Qingwan's talent was something she had always dreamed of, but had never been able to reach. As for Feng Wu, Jun Wuxia wished she hadn't heard anything. Hua Wuxia was dumbfounded. The Hua family of Heartless Valley was one of the 9 influential families, but they had been living in seclusion for the past 100 years. Therefore, they didn't know much about Feng Wu. The divine phoenix blood. Hua Wuxia and Mrs. Hua looked at each other, their eyes shining. No one noticed that look. If they had, they would definitely be surprised. Chapter 3462. Chapter 3462. That girl is Feng Wu. Chapter 3462. That girl is Feng Wu. Lady Northern Feng shrugged. But she's already a level 6 spiritual king. I heard that little Feng Wu was lucky enough to find all-purpose transformation liquid. The elders of Imperial College have all made huge breakthroughs. Nest is overjoyed. And the elders are praising little Feng Wu. Elders. No matter how ignorant everyone was, they knew that the elders of Imperial College were at the spiritual overlord stage at least. That's impossible. Hua Wuxia stood up and said seriously, the all-purpose transformation liquid can indeed increase one's strength, but it usually comes in drops. How can it be used by so many people? In other words, Lady Northern Feng had to be exaggerating. The Empress Dowager nodded. She didn't want to hear Lady Northern Feng brag about Feng Wu, so she was glad that Hua Wuxia was here to raise questions. However, Emperor Wu smiled. Miss Hua, here's the thing. Xiao Wu is a lucky girl. How could she only have found a few drops of all-purpose transformation liquid? She found a pool. It sounded like a lot. Hua Wuxia wondered if the pool was bigger than a bathtub. Emperor Wu pondered for a moment, then said, perhaps a lake would be more accurate. Hua Wuxia looked at Emperor Wu in shock. However, Emperor Wu didn't even glance at her. He only said, I wonder how Xiao Wu is doing inside. Hua Wuxia gave Jun Wuxia a look. Jun Wuxia nodded and said to Emperor Wu, Father, Feng Wu won't be able to do it. Let's go find her. Emperor Wu looked at her in confusion. Who? Jun Wuxia said, the semi-divine medicine refiner. Hua Wuxia nodded. Emperor Wu asked, what semi-divine medicine refiner? Jun Wuxia said anxiously, didn't Lady Northern Feng say that Feng Wu delivered a semi-divine elixir to His Royal Highness? We must have a semi-divine medicine refiner in the Zhenwu Empire. If we can find her, Bao Er will be saved. The Empress Dowager nodded and gave Jun Wuxia an approving look. She couldn't let that Feng Wu steal all the limelight. She needed a semi-divine medicine refiner to suppress Feng Wu. Jun Wuxia was elated by the Empress Dowager's look. She had finally figured out how to please the old lady. All she had to do was oppose Feng Wu, which was so easy. However, Emperor Wu looked at Jun Wuxia, as if she was retarded. You don't know? Jun Wuxia said, what don't I know? Everyone looked at Emperor Wu. At that moment, footsteps came from inside. Everyone looked at the door. Jun Linyuan walked out with Feng Wu in his arms. He was carrying her. Yes, he was. Hua Wuxia only took one glance and jealousy filled her eyes. Her heart burned with anger. She wouldn't be feeling this way if the Empress Dowager hadn't promised her the title of Crown Princess's consort. Jun Linyuan was going to be her future husband, but he was holding another girl. What was going on? However, Hua Wuxia was too reserved to make a sound, so she could only look to her grandmother for help. Mrs. Hua gave her a look to calm her down. The Empress Dowager would be the NRSD to New York Inco a rage. As expected, seeing the Crown Prince come out with Feng Wu in his arms, the Empress Dowager pounded the floor with her walking stick 3 times and bellowed, Linyuan, come here. However, the Crown Prince glanced at the Empress Dowager and said calmly, I'll take the girl to take a bath first. Chapter 3463. Chapter 3463. Take her to bath. Chapter 3463. Take her to bath. Take her to bath. The Empress Dowager almost exploded. I told you to come here. The Empress Dowager scolded Jun Linyuan. Are you not going to listen to my order now? The Empress Dowager was so furious that tears welled up in her eyes. It was obvious that she was truly upset. The Crown Prince stared at her coldly. Feng Wu was in his arms. Feng Wu's cultivation level had dropped to level 4 after saving Bao Er, but she hadn't fainted yet. Therefore, she tugged at Jun Linyuan's shirt with her weak hands. However, Jun Linyuan tightened his grip on her. He glanced back at the Empress Dowager, then carried Feng Wu down the stairs. The Empress Dowager looked astonished. She couldn't begin to describe her feelings. He was her baby Jun. This was the baby June she had painstakingly raised. Take her to bath. The Empress Dowager almost exploded. I told you to come here. The Empress Dowager scolded June Linyuan. Are you not going to listen to my order now? The Empress Dowager was so furious that tears welled up in her eyes. It was obvious that she was truly upset. The Crown Prince stared at her coldly. Feng Wu was in his arms. Feng Wu's cultivation level had dropped to level 4 after saving Bao Air. But she hadn't fainted yet. Therefore, she tugged at June Linyuan's shirt with her weak hands. However, June Linyuan tightened his grip on her. He glanced back at the Empress Dowager, then carried Feng Wu down the stairs. The Empress Dowager looked astonished. She couldn't begin to describe her feelings. He was her baby June. This was the baby June she had painstakingly raised. Ever since the late emperor passed away, the emperor had been sensible and filial. She had basically ignored him and focused on raising the Crown Prince. But the Crown Prince had actually forgotten about his grandmother after getting a girl. Tears welled up in the Empress Dowager's eyes. Emperor Wu couldn't bear to see her like this. He went up to help the Empress Dowager up. Mother, let's go back to the palace. Everyone else lowered their heads. Anyone who dared to look at the sorry state the Empress Dowager was in would be in trouble. The room was silent as everyone deliberately lowered their breathing. The Empress Dowager lost her temper, as if no one was around. She flung Emperor Wu's hand away and said in an aggrieved and angry voice, I'm going to sit right here. Take a bath? Let's see if she dares. Granny Gui, go and pass on my orders. Tell that girl to crawl here right now, or I'll chop off her head. Emperor Wu felt a headache coming on. Why was the Empress Dowager so unreasonable? Mother. However, before Emperor Wu could finish, the Empress Dowager said angrily, And you the Emperor, are you going to disobey me like the Crown Prince? Do you want me to die? Of course not. Then shut up. Why are you interfering in women's matters? Go back to the palace and do your job. Mother. Emperor Wu rubbed his temples. Things had gone the Empress Dowager's way for a while, and she hadn't been this angry in years. He knew that he wouldn't be able to persuade her, so he only gave Empress Dugu a warning look. Empress Dugu, you've served my mother for many years. You know that she's only throwing a tantrum for the time being. If someone aggravates the situation and makes her fall sick from anger, I'll hold you responsible. After that, Emperor Wu left with his hands behind his back. The dumbfounded Empress Dugu was left behind. She couldn't believe it. She really hadn't said anything this time. She was just adding fuel to the fire. How could His Majesty be so biased and put all the blame on her? Go! The Empress Dowager glared at Granny Gui. Granny Gui had never liked Feng Wu. Now that she had the chance, she wouldn't miss it. Hence, she left happily. June Linyuan's spacious residence was outside the imperial palace. It took Granny Gui a while to find the bathing pool. Rather than call it a bathing pool, it was more like an essence gathering pool. Because of the underground essence veins, the spiritual essence here was the richest in the imperial capital. Therefore, June Linyuan had specially set up an essence gathering pool here, where he cultivated most of the time when he was in the capital. Chapter 3464, Chapter 3464, Clever Girl. Chapter 3464, Clever Girl. Granny Gui was surprised to see June Linyuan, sitting cross-legged outside the spirit gathering pool, when she arrived with some ferocious servants. Why was the Crown Prince here? Meanwhile, Feng Wu had already stripped naked, and was lying in the pool, absorbing the spiritual essence in big gulps. 6 major healing spells and a big bowl of blood. Feng Wu was now as dry as a withered tree, and needed a lot of replenishment. The spiritual essence in the pool was rich, but it wasn't enough for Feng Wu right now. Fortunately, she had the all-purpose transformation liquid. Feng Wu was glad that she had kept a barrel of all-purpose transformation liquid in her storage space for emergencies. Now was the time to use it. After the all-purpose transformation liquid was poured in, Feng Wu's pale face gradually regained some color. But that was all. She had internal injuries now, and the all-purpose transformation liquid couldn't heal them all at once. However, Feng Wu only thought of recovering some of her strength and mental strength, since Bao Er's life was still in danger. Previously, Bao Er's health points dropped to 1. When everyone thought that Bao Er couldn't make it, her HP began to rise slowly. Then it remained stable at a certain level. Master Chu had asked Feng Wu what a normal person's HP should be, and Feng Wu told him it was 100. Master Chu then asked Feng Wu how much health Bao Er needed before she was out of danger. Feng Wu told him that 60 was the threshold. Right now, Bao Er was still far from passing that point. Feng Wu thought of the Empress Dowager and how angry she looked. However, she shook her head with a wry smile. Right now, she had no time to worry about the Empress Dowager. Saving Bao Er alone would take all her energy. As for the Empress Dowager, Jun Linyuan would have to deal with her. Worried about Bao Er, Feng Wu wanted to get up after she felt a little better. At that moment, there was a commotion outside. Your Royal Highness, the Empress Dowager has summoned Miss Feng Wu. Granny Gui was very polite at first. After all, Jun Linyuan was notorious for his temper. Feng wasn't around. If he were, he would have been able to tell that the Crown Prince was angry. Seeing Jun Linyuan's dark face, Granny Gui was a little scared. However, she remembered that the Empress Dowager was her backer. No matter how bad the Crown Prince's temper was, he couldn't be angry with the Empress Dowager. After all, being a Crown Prince was still a long way away from being the Emperor, and he would still need the Empress Dowager's help. At that thought, Granny Gui grew bolder. She tried to persuade Jun Linyuan as an elder. Your Royal Highness, I know I'm not qualified to lecture the Crown Prince, but if I don't say something, the Empress Dowager will feel wronged. Your Royal Highness, the Empress Dowager went through so much to raise you. Everything she did was for you. Have you ever been wronged? But now, you're talking back to the Empress Dowager because of a girl who doesn't know what's good for her. The Empress Dowager is so angry that she's crying. Your Royal Highness, why don't you hand Feng Wu over to Her Majesty? She'll be returned to you when she's been disciplined, okay? Feng Wu, who had already cleaned herself up, frowned a little. What the hell? The Empress Dowager? What had she done wrong that the Empress Dowager had to discipline her? Chapter 3465. Chapter 3465. The Crown Prince's Consort 1. Chapter 3465. The Crown Prince's Consort 1. Feng Wu was taken aback. What? The Empress Dowager was going to discipline her. Before she could get angry, the Crown Prince took action. Go away. By the time Feng Wu hurried outside, the noisy Granny Gui had already been kicked away by Jun Linyuan. Granny Gui was sent flying into a tree, and almost couldn't get down. The group of ferocious servants she brought all knelt on the ground and trembled, not daring to say a word. Jun Linyuan turned around, and saw that Feng Wu's face was still pale. He frowned. Why didn't you stay inside for a while longer? He was clearly worried about her, but his expression still looked unpleasant. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. I don't know how Bao Er is doing now. I don't want all my efforts to go to waste. Let's go and keep an eye on her. But Jun Linyuan stayed where he was and just looked at her. Are you sure you're all right? Feng Wu rubbed her temple. It'll be great if no one disturbs me. Jun Linyuan threw Feng Wu over his shoulder. What a posture! Feng Wu panicked and waved her hands around. Put me down! Put me down! However, no matter how the girl bared her fangs and brandished her claws, JL Linyuan still carried her, not looking embarrassed at all. The Empress Dowager will be furious when she sees you like this, Feng Wu reminded him. I know, Jun Linyuan said indifferently. Sure enough, when they passed by the inner hall, the Empress Dowager was infuriated to see how intimate they were. She clutched her chest and gasped. Frowning, Jun Linyuan darted a look at the Empress Dowager and said impatiently, Granny Gong, take the Empress Dowager back to the palace. With that, he was about to carry Feng Wu inside. However, the Empress Dowager was furious. Linyuan, the Empress Dowager snapped. Are you going to obey me or not? The Crown Prince stopped at the door with a frown. The Empress Dowager was delighted to see him stop and said in a hurry, "I don't like her. Let her go now." Jun Linyuan turned around and stared at the Empress Dowager. Patting him on the back, Feng Wu urged him to put her down. Jun Linyuan wouldn't let her go. He stared at the Empress Dowager with cold eyes. The Empress Dowager felt a little guilty. However, she saw Hua Wuxuang out of the corner of her eye and had an idea. She said loudly, "I've already made the decision to make Miss Wuxuang the Crown Prince's consort. It's inappropriate for you to carry that girl around. Put her down." In an instant, Hua Wuxuang's heart was in her throat. Why did she suddenly feel the temperature drop? It was as if she couldn't breathe. She wasn't the only one who felt suffocated. The surrounding people also felt the cold air suffocating them. The Crown Prince's consort. The Crown Prince glanced at the Empress Dowager and smirked. Then he carried Feng Wu away. He never hesitated for a moment. The smirk on his face, and the way he turned around made the Empress Dowager's chest hurt. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" The Empress Dowager tried the same trick again, and everyone rushed forward. However, Jun Linyuan didn't even look up as he carried Feng Wu away. The Empress Dowager was really pissed off this time. The disdainful smirk on his face was too hurtful. It was as if all her decisions were meaningless. That infuriated the Empress Dowager. Chapter 3466. Chapter 3466. The Crown Prince's Consort 2. Chapter 3466. The Crown Prince's Consort 2. The Empress Dowager grabbed Hua Wuxuang. Her face twisted with jealousy. "I said you're the Crown Prince's consort, so you're the Crown Prince's consort." Hua Wuxuang was a little nervous. But His Royal Highness. The Empress Dowager was furious. The Crown Prince doesn't have the final say. Hua Wuxuang looked at her grandmother for help. "Mrs." Hua helped the Empress Dowager up and pushed her back into the chair. She smiled bitterly. "Why don't we just forget about this marriage?" However, the more Mrs. Hua said, the angrier the Empress Dowager became. "I won't allow it. In any case, I've already decided that Wuxuang will be the Crown Prince's future consort. No one is allowed to object." The Empress Dowager shouted at the backyard, but there was no reply at all. She was fuming. Her head really began to ache. Lady Northern Feng felt helpless. Why didn't the Empress Dowager get along with Xiao Wu? Logically speaking, the girl had always been obedient and likable. She had no idea why the Empress Dowager was like this. Empress Duga glanced at Mrs. Hua. Mrs. Hua had been the Empress Dowager's friend since they were teenagers, so the Empress Dowager was very happy whenever she saw her. In Empress Duga's opinion, this Mrs. Hua wasn't easy to deal with. The Empress Dowager had already backed off a little just now, but Mrs. Hua deliberately said that to let the marriage go. How could the proud Empress Dowager stand that? She was bound to insist that Hua Wuxuang had to be the Crown Prince's consort. If Mrs. Hua had really wanted to turn down the marriage, she could have waited for the Empress Dowager to calm down. She knew the Empress Dowager too well. Empress Duga snorted inwardly. Recalling the Emperor's warning, she couldn't help but say, "Your Majesty, it's getting cold. You may catch a cold here. Why don't we go back to the palace first?" "No." The Empress Dowager was still furious. "I want to see if Feng Wu, a supreme-level medicine refiner, can save Bao Er. She might kill Bao Er." "What?" Hua Wuxuang's eyes were filled with jealousy. Feng Wu was even a supreme-level medicine refiner? A beautiful woman like her shouldn't need to know any skills. Hua Wuxuang was so annoyed. Seeing Hua Wuxuang's expression, Lady Northern Feng was displeased. She hadn't announced who that semi-divine medicine refiner was because of the Empress Dowager's feelings. But how dare this girl dislike Xiao Wu? Who did she think she was? Hua Wuxuang thought of something and asked Lady Northern Feng. "Didn't Lady Northern Feng say that she knows that semi-divine medicine refiner? If a supreme-level medicine refiner can't cure Bao Er, why don't I ask that master for help?" The Empress Dowager also wanted to embarrass Feng Wu, so she asked Lady Northern Feng in a cold voice, "Who's that semi-divine medicine refiner?" Lady Northern Feng hesitated. Maybe I shouldn't say her name. The Empress Dowager was even more eager to hear who it was. Tell me now. Empress Dugu, who knew Feng Wu well, felt her stomach lurch. Seriously? Could it be what she thought? Sure enough, Lady Northern Feng looked at the Empress Dowager in resignation. You really don't want to hear this. I'm leaving now. With that, Lady Northern Feng was about to leave. Stop right there. Is everyone disobeying me today? Tell me. The Empress Dowager glared at Lady Northern Feng. Lady Northern Feng said in resignation, I hope you won't regret it. The Empress Dowager said, Tell me. Lady Northern Feng shrugged. Who else could it be? After that, she hinted to the Empress Dowager with her eyes that the person was in the Golden Room. Chapter 3467. Chapter 3467. A Semi-Divine Medicine Refiner. Chapter 3467. A Semi-Divine Medicine Refiner. The Empress Dowager looked at Lady Northern Feng in shock. Lady Northern Feng nodded. It really is her. The Empress Dowager wanted to kick Lady Northern Feng. Didn't she know that the Empress Dowager was in the middle of a fit of anger? She was only making it worse. What kind of daughter was she? Go away. The Empress Dowager pushed Lady Northern Feng away impatiently, not wanting to see her again. Lady Northern Feng had no choice but to say, Shall I go sit in the outer hall? The Empress Dowager was furious. If you don't leave, I'll leave. The Empress Dowager couldn't stay here any longer. If Feng Wu really was a semi-divine medicine refiner and saved Bao Air. The Empress Dowager suddenly remembered something she had said before. If Feng Wu really saved Bao Air, she would apologize to her. Ai ransnopsai 7 plater. I ranstatlons. The Empress Dowager looked at Lady Northern Feng in shock. Lady Northern Feng nodded. It really is her. The Empress Dowager wanted to kick Lady Northern Feng. Didn't she know that the Empress Dowager was in the middle of a fit of anger? She was only making it worse. What kind of daughter was she? Go away. The Empress Dowager pushed Lady Northern Feng away impatiently, not wanting to see her again. Lady Northern Feng had no choice but to say, Shall I go sit in the outer hall? The Empress Dowager was furious. If you don't leave, I'll leave. The Empress Dowager couldn't stay here any longer. If Feng Wu really was a semi-divine medicine refiner and saved Bao Air. The Empress Dowager suddenly remembered something she had said before. If Feng Wu really saved Bao Air, she would apologize to her. Apologize? Let's go. No one could make the Empress Dowager leave earlier, but she was leaving on her own accord now, and no one could stop her. Empress Dugu heaved a sigh of relief. That was good news. If the Empress Dowager left now, the Emperor wouldn't blame his wife later. Ever since Empress Dugu was scolded by the Emperor, she had been behaving herself and never said anything bad about Feng Wu. Mrs. Hua wanted to say goodbye, but the Empress Dowager said, You can leave, but I'll take Wushuang with me. It'll be good for her to familiarize herself with the place. Mrs. Hua demurred again, but the Empress Dowager ignored her and took Hua Wushuang into the palace. The Empress Dowager was still very grumpy after she went back. A whole day passed after that. She had wanted to ask Granny Lan how Bao Air was doing several times, but despite her anxiety, the proud Empress Dowager didn't ask. Granny Lan had been waiting on the Empress Dowager the whole time. Seeing the Empress Dowager walking around, she wanted to ask if Her Majesty wanted Miss Feng Wu to save Bao Air or... At that thought, Granny Lan lowered her head. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was trying her best to save Bao Air. Bao Air's HP had already risen to 30, but suddenly, her condition turned critical, and her HP plummeted. Jun Linyuan didn't look pleased. Seeing that Feng Wu hadn't recovered, and was still trying her best to save Bao Air, Jun Linyuan stopped her before she drew another bowl of her own blood. Stop! The Crown Prince's face darkened. Seeing that Bao Air's health was dropping, Feng Wu tried to push Jun Linyuan away. However, Jun Linyuan's grip was so firm that Feng Wu couldn't fight back. She snapped. My blood can be replenished, but Bao Air can't be revived. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. He stared at her with cold eyes and pursed his lips. He wouldn't allow it. Feng Wu said, I took the immortal spiritual fruit that belonged to her. How could I? No one said that the immortal spiritual fruit has to be hers. Jun Linyuan stared at her. Feng Wu said, "What?" The crown prince said, "It belongs to whoever is capable enough to get it." Feng Wu said, "But," Jun Linyuan said, "I have the dragon phoenix blood." Feng Wu smacked her head. "That's right. How could I have forgotten that? But my divine phoenix blood has just fused with Bao Er. If your dragon phoenix blood fuses with her now, will that be all right?" Jun Linyuan said coldly, "It's up to her fate." It was rare for Feng Wu to see Jun Linyuan so serious. Didn't he cherish Bao Er very much? Why didn't he let her use her blood to save Bao Er? Feng Wu couldn't figure it out. Feng Wu was still in a daze when Jun Linyuan drew a bowl of his blood. Save her. Chapter 3468. Chapter 3468. Resuscitation. Chapter 3468. Resuscitation. His voice was cold, devoid of any warmth, but it somehow reassured Feng Wu. All right. Feng Wu took the blood and injected it into Bao Er's veins. Bao Er had drunk Feng Wu's blood, and the dragon phoenix blood had now been injected into her veins. Feng Wu hoped that the two wouldn't touch each other. Otherwise, she didn't know what would happen. As the dragon phoenix blood was injected, Bao Er's HP, which had been falling fast, finally stopped dropping when it reached 5. Feng Wu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She only closed her eyes when she saw that. Finally it stopped. It was destined not to be a quiet night. Bao Er's condition fluctuated frequently. Her HP would rise to 50, but in the next second, it would fall rapidly. Then it rose and fell again. This happened over and over again. Feng Wu was exhausted. It wasn't until the sun rose that Feng Wu, who had saved Bao Er dozens of times, finally fell asleep. When she woke up again, it was already late in the morning. Granny Gong was delighted to see Feng Wu awake. She said excitedly, "I'll get His Royal Highness now." "Hey, wait a minute," Feng Wu called out to Granny Gong. "How's Bao Er? Is she still relapsing?" Jun Linyuan didn't have time to take care of anyone, so Granny Gong was the one who had raised Bao Er since she was a baby, which was why Granny Gong loved Bao Er so much. Granny Gong saw how Feng Wu had tried her best to save Bao Er. Hearing Feng Wu's question, Granny Gong said in a hurry, "It's been 2 days since Bao Er woke up, but she's been sleeping most of the time. She's not in good spirits, but there's nothing wrong with her. Miss Wu, you can visit her after you feel better." Feng Wu rose to her feet. "I think I'll go take a look now. I won't feel at ease until I do." Suddenly she gripped her blanket. A thought suddenly flashed across her mind. 2 days. Had she forgotten something important? Otherwise, why did she feel a little uneasy? Suddenly, Feng Wu froze. She finally remembered what she had forgotten. With a thud, Feng Wu fell back onto the bed. Her head hit the edge of the bed, and it hurt so much that she was about to cry. However, her attention was not on this at all because, taken aback by Feng Wu's sudden reaction, Granny Gong hurried over to help her up. "Miss Wu? Miss Wu." Bao Er had just gotten better. They couldn't let Miss Wu fall ill now. Granny Gong panicked. She looked outside in a hurry and shouted, "Your Royal Highness! Your Royal Highness!" Feng Wu waved her hand. "Don't call Jun Linyuan. No." However, the crown prince had already rushed in. He ran so fast that he only managed to put on one of the shoes. The other foot was bare. Jun Linyuan, who had always been calm, had never been in such a hurry. "Are you hurt?" Jun Linyuan took Feng Wu from Granny Gong and checked her pulse. Sensing her steady and strong pulse, he heaved a sigh of relief. Glaring at Feng Wu, he said in a displeased tone, "Why are you yelling?" Feng Wu covered her face with both hands. She didn't want to see Jun Linyuan, not now. Because the fairy was telling her what had happened. The fairy wrung her hands and stammered, "I couldn't wait for you to wake up, could I? You were unconscious, and I couldn't wake you up." Chapter 3469. Chapter 3469, Get Out. Chapter 3469, Get Out. Feng Wu stared at the fairy in frustration. She didn't know what to say. A passionate relationship with Jun Linyuan. The fairy had chosen that for her. Should I have picked the other one? The fairy fidgeted with her hands, looking very pitiful. Feng Wu was speechless. Then tell me, which one would you have chosen? The fairy asked. Feng Wu was speechless. The fairy said, see? You're in a difficult position yourself, aren't you? I was also in a dilemma, so I closed my eyes and clicked one. I didn't know which it would be. Feng Wu asked, are you sure you did it with your eyes closed? The fairy said, well, that's the way it is. Shall we? Seeing Feng Wu bury her head in the blanket, the crown prince patted Feng Wu's raised butt. Feng Wu flushed and turned around to glare at Jun Linyuan. She saw his unbelievably handsome face. Feng Wu's ears turned red at the thought of falling in love with the teenager. Do you have a fever? Not knowing what was going on, the crown prince picked up Feng Wu, then wrapped the blanket around her. The back of his hand brushed against Feng Wu's cheek when he tucked her in, and Feng Wu's face was as red as a tomato. The crown prince had no idea how embarrassed Feng Wu felt when he took care of her with an expressionless face. He sat on the bed and touched Feng Wu's smooth forehead. It's very hot. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with a grim face. Did you kick off the blanket while you were sleeping? It had nothing to do with kicking off the blanket at all. Feng Wu felt like rolling around in bed and didn't know what to do. Get out of here, Feng Wu said glumly as she buried herself in the soft blanket, only showing her face. The crown prince frowned, as if he hadn't heard Feng Wu. He reached under the blanket and checked Feng Wu's pulse. He stared at Feng Wu without blinking. His eyes were so deep and bright that they looked like obsidian. Feng Wu averted her gaze. You're a little weak. Your internal injuries are still quite serious. The crown prince didn't look pleased. I'm fine. Just leave. Feng Wu was impatient. Jun Linyuan said, someone's already investigating what happened in Black Cloud Alley. Don't worry, no one can. I said get out. Didn't you hear me? Feng Wu suddenly raised her voice. In a moment of desperation, Feng Wu's voice was shrill and piercing. Jun Linyuan seemed stunned. As far as he could remember, no one had ever spoken to him with such an attitude. Feng Wu was shocked by her own words. Feng Wu pursed her lips. However, before she could say anything else, Jun Linyuan rose to his feet. He gave Feng Wu a meaningful look and left. He left without hesitation. The door closed with a loud bang. Granny Gong's stomach lurched. She wanted to talk to the crown prince, but he seemed so angry that even Granny Gong, who had taken care of Jun Linyuan since he was a child, didn't dare say anything. She let out a long sigh. Why were these two? Looking at the closed door, Granny Gong wanted to go in and talk to Feng Wu, but... Chapter 3470, Chapter 3470, Angry Teenager. Chapter 3470, Angry Teenager. Right now, what Miss Wu needed the most was probably to be alone for a while. After some thought, Granny Gong sighed. The young couple still had a long way to go. Hearing Jun Linyuan's footsteps, Feng Wu buried her face in the blanket in frustration. She whined. She wasn't trying to be mean to Jun Linyuan, but she was too embarrassed to see his handsome face. Holding her head in her hands, Feng Wu rolled around in bed. Right now the crown prince was furious. Everyone in the residence knew that His Royal Highness was angry. That was because the entire mansion felt like a refrigerator. The atmosphere felt oppressive. Everyone trembled and didn't dare to make a sound. The servants used to talk to each other as they walked, but they all lowered their heads and hurried along, afraid that they would become the crown prince's target. It's all my fault. The fairy felt so guilty that she lowered her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. It's all my fault. I should have chosen the other option for you. Feng Wu didn't say anything. Actuellement, she had only said those words in a fit of anger. She wasn't blaming the fairy. If you really don't want to do it, there's a way out. The fairy sobbed and spoke intermittently. Because the choice hasn't been made for more than a day, it can be withdrawn. The fairy wiped her tears. I'll withdraw it for you now. What? Was that an option too? For some reason Feng Wu stopped the fairy. Wait. Tears welled up in the fairy's eyes, and she asked, what's wrong? Feng Wu didn't say anything. The fairy reminded Feng Wu. We won't be able to withdraw it after a while. Feng Wu didn't say anything. The fairy looked at Feng Wu in confusion. Do you not want to take it back? Feng Wu didn't say anything. Should she withdraw it? She had no idea. Feng Wu covered her eyes in frustration. She knew that relationships were too troublesome. She would rather carry a 30-meter saber and fight to the death with a spiritual overlord than make such a difficult choice. Will it affect you if I withdraw it? Feng Wu changed the subject. The fairy said, it doesn't really affect me. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The fairy asked, are we withdrawing it now? Feng Wu began to wonder if the fairy was doing it on purpose. The fairy repeated the question. Feng Wu's head ached at her nagging. Holding her head, she said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. The fairy said, if you withdraw it, I'll just have a little stomachache. It really doesn't matter. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at her. Isn't a stomachache an illness? Don't treat it like a minor symptom. It can hurt like hell. The fairy said, all right. So there's really no need to withdraw it. That question again. It almost sounded like a spell in Feng Wu's ear. Feng Wu felt like crying. No, no, no. She flew into a rage out of embarrassment. Chapter 3471. Chapter 3471. Gaze on her back. Chapter 3471. Gaze on her back. Feng Wu tossed and turned on the bed. Worried about Bao Er's condition, she free-camped Lin and went Tian the Vinlden Nalik Tian ink for her. The Golden Palace was silent. While Feng Wu was unconscious, Master Chu had been taking care of Bao Er. As Feng Wu approached the Golden Palace, she saw a tall and handsome figure standing under the roof outside. The teenager was wearing a brocade robe and red shoes. He leaned against the golden pillar and glanced at Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan. Why was he here? The two of them looked at each other and were both stunned. Immediately, the two of them involuntarily turned their heads away. Feng Wu wanted to turn around and leave right away. But if she left now, wouldn't that mean that she had a guilty conscience? Feng Wu stood there, not knowing whether to leave or go in. Clasping his hands behind his back, the crown prince glanced at Feng Wu expressionlessly. His eyes were as dark as a wolf's, and he looked arrogant and intimidating. Feng Wu felt a little guilty and angry. How could Jun Linyuan treat her so coldly? She felt like crying. Just as Feng Wu was about to leave, she heard laughter outside the door. Xiao Wu, why are you standing here? Why aren't you going in? It was Feng Sun. He didn't seem to notice the awkward atmosphere at all. He was smiling brightly, and his eyes were as bright as the sun shining on the glazed tiles. What are you standing there for? Let's go in. Holding a bag of food in one hand, Feng Sun pushed Feng Wu in with his free hand. Feng Wu went in after some hesitation. She could sense Jun Linyuan's domineering aura when she walked past him. She didn't look up. She lowered her head and stepped through the door. However, Feng Sun said at that moment, Xiao Wu, why are you walking with your head down? Is there a wallet to pick up? Or did you have a fight with boss Jun? Feng Wu lost her footing and almost tripped over the threshold. She hit her head with a loud bang. Feng Sun was shocked. Are you a 3-year-old? You tripped over the threshold? Feng Wu, you're a spiritual king. Normally, Feng Wu would have turned around and punched him. However, Feng Wu could clearly feel Jun Linyuan staring at her from behind. His gaze was terrifyingly intense. Feng Wu didn't turn around to argue with Feng Sun, and just ran into the room. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in surprise, then turned to Jun Linyuan. Boss Jun, what's wrong with this girl? Why did she let me go? Hearing this, the corners of Jun Linyuan's mouth curled up into an arrogant sneer. Feng Sun scratched his head. Were they arguing again? Feng Sun said, Boss Jun, did you make that girl angry again? The crown prince gave him a cold look. Feng Sun rubbed his neck, feeling a little scared. It seemed that the argument was a little serious this time. Feng Sun said, "Shall I go in then?" Without waiting for Jun Linyuan's reply, Feng Sun scratched his head and went in. Jun Linyuan went in behind Feng Sun. His handsome face was still expressionless, and there was no warmth in his deep eyes. Feng Wu was talking to Master Chu. The two of them discussed what Bao Er's condition had been like over the past 2 days. Master Chu told Feng Wu that he had been treating Bao Er according to Feng Wu's instructions for the past 2 days with medicine and acupuncture. Feng Wu nodded and walked up to Bao Er. Chapter 3472. Chapter 3472, Get Out. Chapter 3472, Get Out. By then, Bao Er had woken up, and the little girl was staring at Feng Wu with her big round eyes. She had exquisite facial features. Because she had always been sick all these years, her originally fair skin had become even paler. Her big eyes were dark and round, and she was a lovely girl. However, because she was too thin, her head seemed a little big. Her tiny frame and big head made one's heart ache. Feng Wu looked at her health bar. Her HP had reached 60, just past the threshold. Feng Wu was about to talk to the girl when she saw that Bao Er had fallen asleep again. Master Chu told Feng Wu, "Bao Er wakes up from time to time, but every time she wakes up, she'll fall asleep again after a quarter of an hour." Feng Wu looked at the little girl, who was buried under the blanket with only her tiny face exposed, and sighed in pity. She's too weak to take the energy she needs when she wakes up. Master Chu asked, "How can we?" Feng Sun walked in. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. Although Feng Sun was walking in front, the first person Feng Wu saw was Jun Linyuan, who was walking behind Feng Sun. He was dazzling, noble, and insufferably arrogant. That kind of attraction wasn't something that she could ignore. Feng Wu turned around and focused on Bao Er. Feng Sun turned around and looked at Boss Jun, only to see him leaning against another pillar with his arms crossed. He was still staring at Feng Wu, as if he wanted to dig a hole in her back. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu in silence. Bao Er had already fallen asleep, and Feng Wu had nothing to do, but she kept her head down as if she were busy. Feng Sun was rendered speechless. How could these two people be so awkward? Feng Sun said, "Bao Er said she wanted to eat spring rolls from Song's restaurant, so I went to buy them, but she fell asleep again. I guess she's out of luck. Xiao Wu, would you like one?" Feng Wu said, "I'm busy." Feng Sun asked, "What about you, Boss Jun?" The crown prince gave him a sneer. Feng Sun was rendered speechless. Master Chu was slow to react and hadn't noticed anything yet. He asked Feng Wu about Bao Er. Feng Wu explained everything to him. She even wrote down what herbs to use for the daily treatment. Master Chu suddenly said, "Miss Feng Wu, why don't you?" Feng Wu waved her hand. "I can't be here all the time. I still have a lot to do." As expected, when she said those words, the teenager's brooding eyes turned even more menacing. Feng Wu could sense it. However, she deliberately said, "Since Bao Er is fine, I'll be on my way." She turned to leave. When she walked past Jun Linyuan, he suddenly grabbed her arm. "Let go." His grip was tight, and there was something aggressive about it. Involuntarily, Feng Wu looked up and stared at him. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu without saying a word. Feng Sun grew anxious. Boss Jun was obviously angry and couldn't control himself anymore. Feng Sun was about to intervene, but Jun Linyuan was already furious. He stared at Feng Wu while telling the others, "Get out." That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.